Chapter 976. Seeing the white carp turn around and flee, Ning Fan was greatly surprised. Initially, he thought that his little cat would at most possess some kind of secret technique, which could slightly restrain the white carp. Unexpectedly, this ordinary-looking little cat actually scared the white carp away. Natural enemy. Ning Fan's first reaction was this word. The white carp looked at the black cat's eyes. There was no mistaking it. It was the expression of an animal encountering its natural enemy. It did not dare to fight and could only run away. Even though this white carp was arrogant, it was the most cautious one. If it felt that something was wrong, it would run away faster than anyone else. Ning Fan had deeply experienced this in the previous confrontation. There was a high possibility that the white carp had sensed fatal danger from the black cat. That was why it ran away so decisively. However, there was also a possibility that the white carp was playing hard to get. It pretended to run away, but actually wanted to lure Ning Fan back to the depths of the painting world. Are you confident that you can help me take away this carp's eyes before the other 3 quasi-saints arrive? Ning Fan seemed to be asking the black cat, but in reality, he had already made his move. He gathered his cultivation base on the index finger of his right hand and pointed it forward. Freeze! The finger pointing to the sky directly froze the white carp in midair, stopping it from escaping. Meow, the black cat replied in a seemingly indifferent manner. In fact, it was so angry that its lungs were about to explode. A mere Dao carp actually dared to bully its master. It's sinful. Very sinful. The 4th of the 9 beasts, Swallow Teeth. While chanting an incantation that Ning Fan did not know, strange black ice threads began to appear on the black cat's body. It opened its mouth, and its beautiful little canine teeth began to shine with cold light. With a leap, it turned into a ray of black light and pounced towards the white carp that was frozen. It's this ability again. It can actually stop the circulation of the Dao origin in my body. The white carp was frozen. When it saw the black cat pouncing towards it, it was instantly scared out of its wits. Driven by its will to live, it exerted 120% of its strength. With a loud bang, it forcefully broke free from the restraint of the heaven freezing technique. However, he was still a step too late. The black cat had already closed in on him, opening its mouth to bite down on his fat carp body. With a single tear, it tore a large piece of meat from the carp's body. With a single gulp, the large piece of meat turned into white mist and was swallowed into the cat's stomach. Ning Fan's eyes slightly narrowed. The cat's teeth were so sharp that they seemed to be able to penetrate Dao Hun's defense. As a demi-saint, Bai Li's physical body was extremely strong. In the previous battles, he had taken on the attacks of the Yin and Yang square seal many times. Even when he was hit by the god of exterminating giant, he did not suffer any serious injuries. However, the black cat's bite was able to ignore all of the white carp's defenses. It easily caused serious damage to the white carp. Roar! The white carp let out a heart-wrenching scream. The flesh of the carp was torn apart, but what flowed out of the wound was not blood but strange white ink. In its anger, the white carp suppressed its fear of the black cat. With a swing of its tail, it swept towards the black cat. The force of the tail was so great that it could probably flatten the entire starry sky. This was the white carp's attack that was filled with hatred. It could not be underestimated. The 2nd of the 9 beavers, sky-splitting the black cat, was slightly disdainful. She silently chanted an incantation in her mind. All of a sudden, black light shone brightly in front of her. Then a black air wall appeared out of nowhere. When the white carp's tail swept across the air wall, it could only leave some cracks on it. It could not break it. Ning Fan sighed inwardly. If he was not mistaken, this air wall seemed to be specialized in defending against Dao Hun attacks. My little cat is quite capable. The black cat, on the other hand, was displeased. What kind of joke is this? The sky-splitting wall of my 9 beavers clan was actually cracked by a mere Dao carp. It's humiliating. It's an extraordinary humiliation. Sure enough, my level is still too low. If I were an adult 9 beavers that had taken human form, the sky-splitting wall would never have been cracked by a Dao soul attack of this level. She has brought shame to the 9 beavers. She has tarnished the reputation of her master. She is guilty. The 7th of the 9 beavers, Catblade. The air wall suddenly disappeared. At the next moment, the black cat transformed into a shining black curved blade. Then, it slashed at the white carp's tail, as if it was cutting a piece of tofu. The momentum of this slash was not strong. However, Ning Fan had an illusion that this curved blade seemed to be able to cut the Dao soul. The white carp's entire tail was cut off by the curved blade. The surface of the cut was as smooth as a mirror, giving people an extremely strange feeling. I can't afford to offend it. The 9 Beavers' 9 techniques are not something that the Dao Soul clan of the 3 upper sects can withstand. This 9 Beavers is obviously not an adult yet, but it actually knows 3 of the 9 techniques. This won't do. I have to escape. If I don't, I will die here. In this painting world, only the 2 great kings can deal with this damn 9 beavers. The white carp no longer cared about the destruction of his natal golden imperial talisman. He opened his mouth and spat out a ray of red light. Instantly the heaven and earth began to freeze. As for himself, he desperately fled into the depths of the painting world. I can't move. Ning Fan was slightly shocked. This time, the white carp actually used all the power of the natal golden imperial talisman. The entire heaven and earth were frozen. Ning Fan's body felt like it was frozen, making it even harder for him to move. He had to borrow the power of the god exterminating shield to break free from this kind of ice. However, before Ning Fan could do anything, the black cat had already made its move. The 8th of the 9 beavers, Mirror Return. It was unknown what kind of incantation the black cat chanted. The red and clean ice of the entire heaven and earth actually disappeared in an instant. She calmly withdrew her curved blade and opened her mouth to swallow the large portion of the fish tail that she chopped off. It turned into white mist and swallowed it. On the other hand, the white carp who had just escaped to a deeper layer was suddenly unable to move. Together with the entire world, he was frozen into a huge red block of ice. The fourth technique, the 9 beavers technique. She actually knows 4 of them. Moreover, it's the 8th technique. It can reflect the Dao Soul divine ability. The white carp who was frozen in the red ice struggled desperately, but how could he escape? The 8th technique of the 9 Beavers clan was still there. It could reflect the enemy's Dao Soul divine ability by several folds. His natal golden imperial talisman was already very powerful. After its power was enhanced, there were not many first-level quasi-saints who could break free from his defense. Unfortunately, he had been continuously attacked by the black cat. His strength had been greatly reduced. How could he possibly break free? I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Ning Fan's voice, which carried a hint of praise, entered the white carp's ears like a nightmare. Of course, this sentence was directed at the black cat. Relying on the black cat's strength, Ning Fan and the black cat instantly arrived at this place. As for the white carp, he was still struggling bitterly in the ice. As soon as he saw Ning Fan and the black cat chasing after him, he immediately lost all hope. His reinforcements probably won't be able to make it in time. Even if they do, they certainly won't be a match for this 9 beavers. Even though this 9 beavers has yet to reach adulthood, they are proficient in 4 types of beavers. Their innate potential is really too high. Could it be that they are the legendary 9 beavers of the royal family? In the painting world, perhaps only the 2 kings of the 9 beavers of the royal family would have a way to deal with the 9 beavers of the royal family. However, the 2 kings were tied to the sea-calming divine iron. Without paying a huge price, they wouldn't be able to break free from the seal of the divine iron at all. Therefore, they could only rest and sleep every day. Even if they pay a huge price to temporarily break free from the seal of the divine iron, the 2 kings would probably not be able to save him in time. All right. Little brother, you and I actually don't have any deep grudges against each other. Considering that I'm a Dao soul, and it wasn't easy for me to attain the Dao, can you please let me go? Do you want my eyes? I know that every cultivator who enters the painting world has the same goal. I can give them to you. I can even give you the imperial golden talisman that is connected to my life. All I ask for is for you to spare my life. If you kill me, the imperial golden talisman will perish together with me. You better think about it carefully. If I lose such a precious treasure, wouldn't it be a pity? Oh, if I let this carp go, I will be able to obtain the imperial golden talisman that is connected to his life? Ning Fan had witnessed the power of the Imperial Golden Talisman. It was definitely a first-rate sealing treasure. Thus, he was indeed very interested in this item. Indeed, he did not have any deep grudges against this carp. It was not necessary for him to kill this carp either. If there were enough benefits, it was not impossible for him to spare his life. Seeing that Ning Fan was actually considering his suggestion, Bai Li's heart was filled with joy. After witnessing the terror of the 9 beavers, he no longer wanted to be Ning Fan's enemy no matter what. He would just have to sacrifice 2 fish eyes and give Ning Fan Imperial Golden Talisman. If he could keep his life, it was not a bad deal at all. Even if he lost his fish eyes, he could still devour the eyes of the cultivators of the Golden Talisman Palace, and cultivate his fish eyes again. Even if he gave the Imperial Golden Talisman to someone else, he could still cultivate another talisman that was connected to his life. However, he would just have to start all over again. It was not as valuable as his life. As long as he could escape from the hands of this 9 beavers, he must return to the 3000th floor, and tell all his fellow Dao Carps and the 2 kings that Ning Fan was not someone to be trifled with. It was because Ning Fan had a 9 beavers as his servant. Little brother, have you made up your mind? Do you think that the Imperial Golden Talisman is not enough? As long as you are willing to let me go, I still have other precious treasures to give you. In order to persuade Ning Fan, Bai Li increased his offer. Oh, you still have other precious treasures? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He still wanted to hear what Bai Li had that could move him. However, at the next moment he frowned. It was because 3 traces of qi had interfered and disrupted the possibility of him continuing his transaction with Bai Li. Crack crack crack, 3 rays of Dao origin light that were either black or white suddenly descended from the sky. Their vast aura force immediately split the world apart. The vermilion cold ice that was trapping Bai Li seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. It instantly shattered from the middle. At the next moment, 3 other wild laughter resounded across heaven and earth. Carp 4, oh Carp 4. You are really in a difficult situation. As the 4th Carp General of the Dao Carp clan, you actually got frozen by your own Imperial Golden Talisman. Don't tell me that your hand slipped and that's why you did such a stupid thing. 3 giant carps, 1 white and the other 2 black, appeared in the sky and joined the battle. Each of them possessed the qi of a quasi-saint realm expert. They were the top 3 carp generals among the Dao Carp clan. Including Carp 4, there were 4 quasi-saints on their side. The grand lineup of 4 quasi-saints was enough to make any force in Eastern Heaven turn pale. Even the secret clans like the Dark Clan and the Southern Clan would not dare to provoke these 4 quasi-saints in public. However, such a grand lineup did not scare Ning Fan at all. It was because he had already witnessed the heaven-defying suppression that the Black Cat had over the Dao Carp clan. Moreover, his mind had a slight connection with the Black Cat. The Black Cat kept sending out comforting emotions from its heart, as if it was telling him not to be afraid. It's not a quasi-saint realm expert, but delicious dried fish. Is the deal just now going to be cancelled? Ning Fan looked at Carp 4 expressionlessly. Meeting Ning Fan's gaze, the white carp whose name was Carp 4 complained incessantly in his heart. He did not feel any joy of being rescued at all. Instead, he only felt the urge to curse. He was about to solve this problem peacefully. However, the reinforcements that he had been waiting for suddenly appeared at such an untimely time. Are these 3 idiots here to mess things up? He didn't come earlier or later, but at this very moment. It's not cancelled. Of course, it's not cancelled. As long as you take the item and are willing to leave, everything can be discussed. Carp 4 tried his best to speak in a humble tone. Inwardly, he reckoned that even if the 4 of them joined forces, they would still not be able to defeat Jiu Li of the royal family. It would be best if this matter can be settled peacefully. The other 3 quasi-saint realm giant carps were displeased. The black carp whose name was Carp 3 scolded coldly. Carp 4. We can understand that you're no match for this cultivator, but why must you bow and scrape before him, and even didn't hesitate to sacrifice your eyes to curry favor with him? Do you know that your words from before have utterly disgraced our Dao Carp lineage? Another white carp, Carp 2, said fiercely. Humph. If a foreign cultivator dares to enter the painting world, just kill him. The number of foreign cultivators that you and I have killed is not small. This young man isn't even a quasi-saint realm expert. You can't kill him because you're useless. I'm not you. Give me 10 breaths and it will be enough to kill this young man. By then, this young man's primordial spirit will belong to me and his flesh and blood will be given to all of you to eat. It's settled. As they talked and laughed, they had already regarded Ningfan as their food. Carp 1 was a black carp. He was also the strongest carp general among the group of Dao carps. Compared to Carp 2 and Carp 3, he was much more cautious and calm. His eyes carefully scanned across Ningfan and the black cat. Ningfan was nothing to worry about, but this black cat. Hiss. What a bullshit black cat. How is this a black cat? Carp 1's breath stagnated. His heart raced and he blurted out involuntarily. Julie. This black cat is actually Julie. As soon as he said that, Carp 2 and Carp 3's expressions changed. They came in a hurry just now and did not pay attention to the black cat. Only now did they realize that this inconspicuous black cat was actually extremely similar to the Jiuli that was recorded in the ancient records. Immediately, they felt a chill run down their spines. It can't be wrong. It's really Jiuli. If you look closely, you will be able to see it. No wonder Carp 4, who is naturally arrogant, would bow and scrape in front of an ant like Ningfan. It turns out that he actually has a Jiuli with him. This Jiuli. Carp 2 was so shocked that he could not even finish his sentence. This Jiuli is this young friend's servant. Carp 4 explained. What? Servant? What kind of ability does this young man have? He actually managed to make Jiuli his servant. One should know that the members of the Dao Hun clan were born to be superior to others. The arrogant Dao Hun of the heavenly Dao would never submit to any second-step cultivator. How could Jiuli, who was ranked 4th among the members of the Dao Hun clan, become someone's servant? This matter was really absurd. However, it was the truth. Carp 2 and Carp 3 were immediately frightened by the name of Jiuli. Just now, they were still shouting that they wanted to eat Ningfan's flesh. Now, how would they still dare to speak loudly? They only wished that they did not have 8 legs so that they could escape from this place faster. Carp 1 was also afraid of the name of Jiuli. However, there was also excitement in his fear. Jiuli. It's actually Jiuli. The other carp generals might not know, but he knew that the 2 kings were already extremely weak now. If he does not think of a way, the day of their Dao extinction would not be far away. Jiuli was an unusual species in the Dao Hun clan. In this world, there were only a few things that could help a cultivator delay the arrival of their Dao extinction. The flesh and blood of an adult Jiuli was one of them. If he could capture this Jiuli and raise it to adulthood before offering it to the 2 kings, it would definitely prolong their immortal lifespan. This Jiuli was definitely going to be his. However, the Jiuli clan was born to restrain the Dao Hun clan, especially the Dao Carp clan. If the group of Dao Carps wanted to capture the Jiuli, they could not do it forcefully. They could only do it with their wits. Carp had always been a shrewd person. In just a split second, he had thought of tens of poisonous plans which were enough to trick Ningfan without anyone noticing. However, he pretended to be afraid and sighed at Ningfan. Little friend is really amazing. You're still so young, but you actually managed to get yourself a Jiuli. Hee hee. Little friend. You've gone through so much trouble to enter the painting world. I suppose you're here for the Eye of Yang realm, just like those cultivators in the past. However, judging from your expression, you don't seem to know much about the Eye of Yang realm. So? Ningfan frowned slightly and asked. So little friend, you can take this jade slip and have a look. I believe you'll have a better understanding of the Eye of Yang realm after reading it. To be honest, the method you use to take away Carp 4's eyes is really a lowly one. I'm afraid that it will hurt the scenery in the Yang realm. There are 4 methods to take away the eyes and 7 methods to nurture the eyes. You can take a closer look. Carpi opened his mouth and spat out a black jade slip which he passed to Ningfan. At the same time, he secretly transmitted his voice to Carp 2, Carp 3 and Carp 4, telling them about his plan. This jade slip was not a jade slip that recorded the information about the Eye of Yang realm at all. Instead, it was a cage. Once Ningfan opens the jade slip, he would be trapped in the painting prison in the jade slip. At that time, his life or death would be in Carp Yi's hands. This Jiuli was Ningfan's servant. In that case, as long as they hold Ning Fan's life hostage, they would definitely be able to do anything to it. After listening to Carp Yi's plan, Carp 2 and Carp 3 were tempted. On one hand, they were afraid of the Jiuli clan. On the other hand, they shared weal and woe with their king. They also wanted to make a contribution by killing this Jiuli and presenting it to their two kings. Unexpectedly, their two kings were already on the verge of Dao extinction. It was their first time hearing this news. If they could capture this Jiuli, no, they had no choice but to do this. There was no other way out. If their king dies, they would also have to die. Carp 4's eyes flashed with a hint of hesitation. However, it was soon replaced by ruthlessness. He agreed to Carp Yi's plan. Since this matter was related to their king's life and death, there was no need to negotiate with Ning Fan anymore. We must capture this Jiuli for our king. Speaking of which, I haven't asked for little friend's name yet. This old man is Carp Yi. I'm the #1 carp general of the Dao Carps. In order to dispel Ning Fan's wariness, Carp Yi started chatting with Ning Fan in a friendly manner. Ning Fan did not take the jade slip. Instead, he looked at Carp Yi coldly. In his Dantian, the god extermination shield kept sending him warnings. This jade slip is a trap. I'm only going to ask you one last time. Is the deal just now going to be cancelled? Ning Fan's eyes swept across Carp 4. Carp 4's heart thumped, and he knew that the situation was not good. The other carp generals also realized that Ning Fan might have already found out about their evil scheme. Little friend, you must be joking. How can this deal be cancelled? Carp 4 still wanted to say something, but Ning Fan's eyes flashed with ruthlessness, and he ordered the black cat beside him. Kill them all. Don't let any of them live. Ning Fan had given these Dao Carps a chance. If it was possible, he did not mind sparing their lives. After all, the two traces of qi in the depths of the painting world could give him a deterrent force comparable to that of ancient great cultivators. If it was possible, he did not want to create too much of a commotion in the painting world in case something unexpected happened. Unfortunately, these Dao Carps insisted on plotting against him. Hence, he did not want to be ruthless. After receiving Ning Fan's order, the black cat's eyes immediately surged with killing intent. She was Ning Fan's servant. She had been like that since a very long time ago. In her entire life, she would only serve Ning Fan as her master. She would not allow anyone to bully her master. She would not allow anyone to plot against her master. How would she dare to disobey her master's order? Let alone killing a few dried fishes. She would not even blink her eyes even if she were to kill a saint or an immortal sovereign. Even if she was no match for her master, even if her body was crushed into pieces, she would still fight to the last drop of her blood for her master. It was because he was her master. He had been her master since a very long time ago. My name is Fan. I'm a barbarian cultivator, but also not a barbarian cultivator. What I'm looking at isn't an ant. Instead, I'm waiting for a meeting with a butterfly. No, this time, I'm not waiting for a butterfly. Instead, I'm waiting for that cocoon and that green insect. Or perhaps, I'm waiting for a retrace. A strong wind can blow away a piece of white paper, but it can't blow away a butterfly. The power of Dao lies in this kind of disobedience. He opens, he closes, he closes, he opens. I've always wondered if the reason why he couldn't see me in the past 42 cycles of reincarnation was because I was unwilling to close my eyes. As a result, he couldn't open his eyes. You want me to give you a name? I'm not very good at giving names. Let's call you Black Devil. This name just happens to be the complete cycle of your reincarnation. I'm leaving. When the heaven-warring elephant appears for the 10th time, I'll come back and bring you away. The 10th heaven-warring elephant of the barbarian god had already appeared. Master had really come back. Although many things had changed with the passage of time, and her master was also very different from the past, no matter how he changed, he would always be her master. Only this point would never change. When she first woke up, she was still a little muddle-headed. She was only instinctively greedy for her master's power of punishment. Later on, she had already sobered up and remembered the past. I don't like to talk. I'll only say it once. I won't allow anyone to bully my master. No one is allowed. The ninth of the nine civet, the king's bow. The black cat shook its body and turned into a pitch-black longbow in the black light. There was no bowstring or arrow. It looked strange and ordinary at the same time. When the bow appeared, Li Yi and the other carp generals didn't feel afraid. However, the two carp kings in the deepest part of the 3,000 levels of the painting realm were instantly awakened from their deep sleep. Their bodies were trembling. It was an instinctive shiver. It was a fear that was fused into their bones and blood. Countless years later, Sui, the ancestor of the 9 raccoon, he drew his bow in 10 steps and hunted down the 3 Dao Hun sovereigns in a billion worlds to seize the demon's fate. It couldn't be wrong. Someone actually used the strongest technique of the 9 raccoon arts. It could create the shadow of the 9 raccoon ancestral king Bao. That was the #1 weapon of the Dao Hun clan. Even if it was just a shadow. Before the king Bao, these 4 generals have already joined hands with the Dao carp lineage. We must not let them be shot to death. Otherwise, the 2 of us will never be able to leave this place. We can't bear the wrath of the carp saint. The white carp king said with a trembling voice. Get lost. You damned sea-calming divine steel. I can tolerate you at other times, but this time I can't. Give me back my power, quick. Otherwise, we'll all die. The black carp king was enraged at the light pillar behind him. The most terrifying thing about the 9 raccoon king Bao wasn't its killing power, but its ability to seize the fate of a clan. They must not let the bow be drawn. Otherwise, the carp saint would be enraged and there would be no place for them in this world. Exalted immortal, please calm down. You can't bear the karma of destroying the fate of the Dao carp lineage. Please think twice before drawing the bow. The black and white carp king, who had always been high and mighty, spoke to someone with a pleading tone for the first time. Chapter 977. The voices of the 2 kings of carp used their great divine abilities to penetrate through the 3,000 painting worlds and resounded around Ning Fan. The 2 kings of carp were just second tribulation quasi-saints. However, when their voices were combined, it somehow gave off an unparalleled aura force, causing Ning Fan's ears to feel a sharp pain and a buzzing sound. It's so strong. What kind of ferocious creature is hiding in the depths of the painting worlds? It can actually make my eardrums hurt with just its voice. It's comparable to the great cultivators of ancient times. One should know that Ning Fan's current cultivation base had already risen to the peak 9th tribulation realm. His strength was no weaker than a first-level quasi-saint. However, he still found it hard to endure the aura force of the voices. Hi immortal, are they calling me? What does the luck of exterminating a clan refer to? Could it be related to the black cat transforming into a bow? What kind of force is the Dao carp lineage? Ever since I started cultivating the Dao, it's my first time hearing this name. Could it be that these white and black carps all belong to the Dao carp lineage? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. Although the 2 voices were strong, they were filled with fear. Ning Fan knew that the 2 voices were definitely not afraid of him, but his little cat air. At this moment, the little cat had already transformed into a black bow. The bow seemed to be just an illusion and not a real entity. Even so, it still gave Ning Fan a soul-stirring feeling. He had only felt that kind of feeling when he faced the god-exterminating shield for the first time. That was the aura force that only a heaven-opening weapon possessed. The black bow that the little cat had transformed into was highly likely a shadow of the heaven-opening weapon. The only thing that puzzled Ning Fan was that he actually had a strange sense of familiarity with this black bow. It was as if he had seen this bow somewhere before but also never seen it before. He was very sure that he had never seen this bow in his entire life. Was this strange sense of familiarity just an illusion? Hi immortal, please don't be angry. This bow can't be drawn. It can't be drawn. The begging voices of the 2 kings of carp could still be heard. However, the black cat was completely indifferent towards them. You only want to beg for mercy now? It's too late. A mere Dao carp dares to bully my master. Don't think that this matter can be easily resolved. Give up the flesh and blood of the Dao carp that I've devoured. Transform into the bowstring of the king Bao. The black cat's voice was heard, and the black bow that she had transformed into suddenly flashed with a black light, and a bowstring appeared. The bowstring was formed from the Dao carp meat she had swallowed earlier. The The bowstring and arrows of the imperial bow could only be obtained by sacrificing certain things. Without paying a certain price, it would be impossible to draw the bow and kill someone. No sacrifice, no gain. The Tao of this bow is somewhat similar to that of the Shedding Orchid sect. Ning Fan's expression became nostalgic. He suddenly remembered that he had promised old ancestor Shedding Orchid to kill the sect master of the Western Heavenly Tao sect in the ancient fisherman's cowhide painting. And this karma will have to be repaid one day. Unfortunately, now is not the time to head to the Western Paradise. As soon as the bowstring appeared, the expressions of the 4 quasi-sage carp generals changed drastically. They finally sensed a fatal danger from the black bow. That kind of feeling was as if the tip of a knife was pressed against his throat, and the knife was slowly piercing into his throat. That gradually increasing pressure caused him to suffocate. What kind of bow is this? This bow must be extremely terrifying. Otherwise, with the 2 great kings' arrogance, they wouldn't lower their heads and beg for mercy. The 4 quasi-sage carp generals sensed that something was amiss. Without saying a word, they turned to leave. Unfortunately, how could they escape? I'll sacrifice the essence of the sun and moon that I've devoured for 7 million years, and turn it into the yin-yang 7 stars arrow. As soon as the black cat's voice fell, her chi immediately weakened greatly. The weakened part of her chi turned into an arrow light that was intertwined with black and white. It coiled around the black bow like a circle. Within the shadow of the arrow, there was even faint starlight. Then, as the black cat willed it, the black and white arrow flew to the bowstring on its own and pulled the bowstring. This black bow was drawn solely by the black cat's will. It did not need Ning Fan's help at all. Ning Fan frowned slightly. With his eyesight, how could he not see that the black cat had actually used up the origin power of her Tao soul in order to form a black and white arrow, causing the grade of her Tao soul to drop? This black cat sincerely treated him as her master. Naturally, he would also sincerely treat her as his servant. There was no deep hatred between him and these Tao carps. If he attacks them, it would cause the black cat's grade to drop. Therefore, he would rather let these Tao carps escape. However, what puzzled Ning Fan was that this black and white arrow also gave him an extremely familiar and strange feeling. This black and white arrow actually contained the pure power of the Tao origin of Yin and the Tao origin of Yang. As for the circulation path of the 2 types of Tao origin of Yin and Yang, a part of it was extremely similar to the cultivation method of the yin-yang transformation. As for the starlight in the shadow of the arrow, for some unknown reason, it seemed to be somewhat similar to the Big Dipper reversal technique of the Slaughter Palace. That starlight seemed to be able to plunder the luck of others. Strange. Could it be that this black and white arrow has some kind of connection with the ancient chaos and the Big Dipper immortal region? Ning Fan muttered to himself. At the next moment, the black bow was drawn. The moment the bow was drawn, Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. Even with his eyesight at the 2nd level of the heavenly being realm, he could not see the afterimage of the black and white arrow clearly. The speed at which the black and white arrow left the bow was too fast. This kind of speed seemed to be able to transcend time and space. It had already exceeded the understanding of 2nd-step cultivators. It gave people a deep feeling that they could not avoid it no matter what. Not good. Sensing the black and white arrow leaving the bow, the expressions of the 2 carp kings changed drastically. The 4 Tao carp quasi-saints who were fleeing in panic felt their scalp tingling at that moment. They could not see the shadow of the arrow at all. However, at this moment, Li Si was the first one to let out a blood-curdling scream. His huge fish body suddenly expanded strangely. An indescribable pain instantly spread throughout his body. When his body expanded to its limit, it suddenly exploded like a balloon with a bang. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. Then, a black and white arrow light flew out from his mutilated body and disappeared in a flash. WW. What kind of arrow is this? When did it enter Li Si's body? The remaining 3 quasi-saints were sweating profusely. What they could not understand was that after Li Si died, they actually felt that their luck was slightly weakened. No, to be more precise, it was not their personal luck that was weakened but the luck of their clan. Luck was the recognition of heaven. If an individual's luck was not good, his life would not be smooth. If the luck of a clan was not good, the clan would not be able to prosper and produce peak experts. The three quasi-saints could only vaguely feel that the arrow just now had strangely weakened the luck of the Dao Carp bloodline, but they could not see through it at a deeper level. Only the two Carp Kings could accurately sense that the arrow just now had strangely weakened the luck of the Dao Carp bloodline. It was not a big deal that the arrow just now killed Li Si. What was troublesome was that it had directly taken about 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck. Oh no. There's really no turning back now. Sage Carp has racked his brains for countless years, and spent 10 cycles of time planning for our clan to get 100,000 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck. This time, you and I have lost 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck. Sage Carp will definitely be furious. In this way, even if we are lucky enough to return to the true world one day, we will not be able to escape the heavy responsibility. Thinking of Sage Carp's ruthlessness, the eyes of the two Carp Kings were filled with madness. At this moment, after Li San's fish body also began to expand. Unknowingly, Li San's body was also penetrated by the black and white arrow. No, I can't let Li San die. Losing 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck will only result in me being imprisoned at most. However, if I lose more than 1,000 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck, I'm afraid that 70% of my cultivation base will be crippled when I return to the true world. 9 Raccoon Ferocious Spirit. You've gone too far. You've destroyed 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Roar. It was unknown what kind of price the two Carp Kings had paid to break all the shackles on their bodies, temporarily removing the shackles that the sea-calming divine iron had on them. Then they dashed towards Ning Fan's direction. Their intense killing intent almost instantly caused the sky of the 3,000 layers painting world to freeze at the same time. 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline's luck. What does it mean? Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. He did not understand what the black cat had done to actually make the ferocious creatures in the depths of the painting world erupt with such intense killing intent. The black cat, on the other hand, was indifferent towards the two Carp Kings' killing intent. Even though her cultivation base was not high, she might still be able to kill these two Carp Kings if she goes all out. I'll sacrifice another 7 million years of sun and moon essence. Kill. As soon as the black cat let out a roar, its chi greatly weakened once again. At the same time, Carp San's body completely exploded and he died. The luck of the Dao Carp bloodline was reduced by another 500 colors. No. The eyes of the two Carp Kings turned bloodshot. They had just rushed to the 2980th floor. They were still very far away from where Ning Fan was. They had lost the luck of the Dao Carp clan's 1,000 colors. Sage Carp would never forgive them easily. If they don't kill Ning Fan and this Jiuli, they swore that they were not fish anymore. I'll sacrifice another 7 million years of sun and moon essence to form the third arrow. The black cat's tone was already a little breathless. Obviously, it was quite taxing on her after attacking 3 times in a row. As soon as she finished her words, Carp 2's body began to expand. In an instant, it had reached its limit. Carp 2's fish face became distorted because of fear. He wanted to resist, but there was nothing he could do. All he could do was watch helplessly as his body exploded into pieces of flesh and blood. The Dao Carp bloodline would lose another 500 colors of the Dao Carp bloodline. 1,500 colors. With Sage Carp's personality, how would he spare our lives? The two Carp Kings actually had the will to die in their frenzy. This time, even if they have to perish together, they wanted to kill Ning Fan and the black cat in the painting world. The last arrow. The black cat's voice trembled a little. She was somewhat unable to endure the huge consumption of the King Bao's shadow. After all, what she controlled was the broken heavenly Tao of the desolate lands. Even though she had controlled it for countless years, she did not manage to absorb much of the sun and moon essence. This time, in order to help Ning Fan vent his anger, she did not hesitate to use up all the power that she had accumulated for countless years. Enough. There's no need to shoot the 4th arrow. Let's go. Ning Fan suddenly reached out his hand and pressed on the black bow. With a gentle stroke, the black cat could no longer maintain its bow form and turned back into its cat form. Its body became much more illusory. Obviously, it had become much weaker after shooting the previous 3 arrows. The grade of the black cat's Dao soul was almost going to drop below the 2nd grade sovereign soul realm. If she shoots the 4th arrow, she would certainly be able to kill Carp E, but it would certainly implicate the black cat and cause her Dao soul realm to drop completely. It's not worth it. Master, didn't you say that you want to kill every single one of them? The black cat was still very displeased. She was really reluctant to let go of the Dao carp who had plotted against her master. However, this was her master's order. If her master did not allow her to shoot the 4th arrow, she would never shoot the 4th arrow even if the saint forces her to. Here. These are the spoils of war that Black Devil obtained after using the 9th technique. The black cat shook its tail. Immediately, 3 balls of light appeared in front of Ning Fan. Each of the balls of light had 500 different colors. They were extremely beautiful and eye-catching. It was Ning Fan's first time seeing such an item. He did not know what it was, but he could faintly feel that it was not something ordinary. This is... Ning Fan wanted to ask what it was, but the black cat had already fainted on the other side because she was too weak. As expected, it was the right decision not to let her shoot the 4th arrow. Even though the 9 Raccoon clan could restrain the Dao carp, Little Cat's grade was still too low. Killing a carp that was at a higher level than her was definitely not as easy as it seemed. Forget it. You should take a rest first. Ning Fan flipped his hand and kept the 3 dazzling balls of light into the profound Yin world. After thinking for a while, he collected the flesh and carp eyes of the 3 dead carp generals along the route that they had taken when they were escaping. The carp eyes were naturally what Taoist Musang needed. As for the fish meat, perhaps he could let Little Cat eat it. Perhaps she would not be so weak after being nourished. Little Cat can no longer fight. With my current cultivation base, it's not suitable for me to stay here for a long time. It's better for me to leave the painting world as soon as possible. With that thought in mind, Ning Fan pushed his speed to the maximum. He turned around and fled towards the first level of the painting world. Carp 1 fled all the way without daring to look back at all. The deaths of Carp 2, Carp 3 and Carp 4 were like a shadow that shrouded his heart. That scene was really too terrifying. If he could not defend himself, he would certainly die. In front of that 9 Raccoon's divine ability, his first-level quasi-sacred realm Dao Carp cultivation base had no way to resist it at all. I can't resist it. I must run. He desperately ran towards the depths of the painting world. However, he did not know that the black cat had already fainted and Ning Fan did not chase after him. Instead, he fled towards the outside of the painting world. As for the 2 Carp Kings, they were already determined to kill Ning Fan. Unfortunately, before they could reach him, Ning Fan had already escaped from the painting world. He was a cunning brat. When he saw that something was amiss, he actually ran faster than anyone else. Despicable brat! Despicable brat! Roar! The 2 Carp Kings roared angrily at the sky, venting the unwillingness and rage in their hearts. As they roared, the entire painting world seemed to have been washed away by the rain. The scenery was forcefully washed away, and some changes occurred. The originally empty heaven and earth of the painting world suddenly became filled with countless bloody eyeballs. They were not fish eyes but human eyes instead. They were floating in the air, and it looked extremely strange. Each of the eyeballs was bloodshot and filled with madness, hatred and fear before they died. All of these eyeballs belonged to the cultivators of the Golden Talisman Palace. These eyeballs had existed in every level of the painting world since ancient times. After Ning Fan entered the painting world, he had also passed by these eyeballs countless times. Unfortunately, Ning Fan could not see the existence of these blood-red human eyes at all. What Ning Fan did not know was that what Taoist Musang wanted him to take was actually the bloody human eyes that he did not see and not the fish eyes of the Dao carps. In the outside world, in the void of the palmwood, both Taoist Musang and Xiang Bozi wore astonished expressions. The golden sky and black map that was hanging in front of them was trembling violently at this moment. Without a doubt, an unimaginably huge commotion had happened in the painting world. Could it be that little friend Ning Fan has actually alarmed the 2 Dao Carp Kings in the depths of the painting world? Otherwise, it is impossible for the map to tremble like this. Taoist Musang cried out involuntarily. When he recalled how terrifying the two Dao Carp Kings were, even his face could not help but turn pale despite his cultivation base. Without the strength of an ancient great cultivator, it was certainly impossible for him to fight against the two Dao Carp Kings. Moreover, there were still many powerful carp generals in the painting world. Quick! We can't wait any longer. Let's work together and quickly drag little friend Ning out of the painting world. Xiang Bozi said anxiously. Taoist Musang nodded his head. His expression, however, revealed a hint of disappointment. Inside the painting world, there were many eyes of the Yang realm. However, all of them were hidden between heaven and earth. Only cultivators who had opened their eyes could discover the existence of those eyes of the Yang realm. If someone in the painting world had opened their eyes, the map would certainly show them. However, it did not. Could it be that little friend Ning Fan did not successfully open his eyes in the painting world? If that's the case, there is only a second way for this young man to obtain the eyes of the Yang realm: to kill the Dao Carp Kings. However, the grade of the carp eyes of the Dao Carp Kings is too low. Thinking of this, Taoist Musang let out a sigh. This young man's innate potential is still not as good as Sun Luo. After all, Sun Luo had opened his eyes in the painting. His innate potential is comparable to mine, but this young man can't do it. At first, I thought that it would be easier for the successor of Ancient Chaos to open his eyes. Now, however, it seems like my expectations for him are a little too high. Musang sighed while activating his ability. Together with Xiang Bozi, they wanted to drag Ning Fan out of the painting world. However, before the two of them could help him, Ning Fan had already rushed out of the golden sky and black map on his own, and returned to their side. Even though little friend didn't open his eyes, his speed of escaping isn't slow at all. In this way, old man Xiang and I don't have to pay any price to save you. It's really convenient. Taoist Musang seemed to be smiling, but his tone was very indifferent. Ning Fan did not know if it was just an illusion, but he seemed to have heard a hint of sarcasm from Musang's tone. What do you mean by escaping quickly? Why does this sentence sound a little awkward? Forget it. Taoist Musang has a sharp tongue in the first place. I have already told Senior Bozi about this. Thus, Ning Fan did not need to pay too much attention to Musang's tone. Xiang Bozi, on the other hand, was very satisfied with Ning Fan. The fact that Ning Fan could still safely escape from the painting world after the two great carp kings had already made their moves proved that this young man was extraordinary. How is it? Have you successfully brought out the item that old man Mu needs? Xiang Bozi asked with a smile. Unlike Taoist Musang, he was very confident in Ning Fan. I've brought it out. However, I don't know if this item is the eye that Senior Mu needs. Ning Fan did not care about Musang's indifference. He turned his hand and took out an eyeball. Musang was instantly stunned. He did not expect that Ning Fan would also bring out the eye of the Yang realm without opening his eyes. As expected, he has killed the Dao Carp. Haha, the quality of the eyes of a Dao Carp is inferior to the eyes of a Golden Talisman Palace cultivator. In terms of quality, the eyes of a Golden Talisman Palace cultivator can be ranked as mid-grade, whereas the eyes of an ordinary Dao Carp can only be ranked as low-grade. Only quasi-Saint Dao Carps would have mid-grade eyes, which were barely comparable to the eyes of ordinary Golden Talisman Palace cultivators. Even if this child's cultivation level had increased in the painting world, it would still be impossible for him to kill a quasi-Saint Dao Carp. Musang had personally experienced how difficult it was to kill a Dao Carp. The eye that Ning Fan obtained was probably just a low-grade Yang World eye. Forget it. It is already very difficult for this child to obtain an inferior grade eye. I will reluctantly help him once. Musang received the eye that Ning Fan passed to him with slight disappointment. He casually extended his spirit sense and scanned through it. With a single glance, the calm expression on Zhang Xian's face turned into shock. This eye was actually a middle-grade eye. You opened your eyes? Do you see the tens of thousands of eyeballs floating in the painting world? Mu Shaoxing asked with a serious expression. Open my eyes? Tens of thousands of eyeballs floating in the painting world? Ning Fan was slightly stunned. Why did he not know that there were tens of thousands of eyeballs floating in the painting world? You didn't see it? As expected, you didn't open your eyes. If that's the case, did you seize this eye from the quasi-saint General Carp? Musang put away the contempt in his heart. Even though Ningfan did not open his eyes, being able to enter the painting world and seize the quasi-saint General Carp's eye with his first tribulation realm cultivation base was already considered heaven-defying, wasn't it? At least, even Xiang Bozi could not do such a thing. All right. Since you can take back an eye of the young world, it's enough for me to help you once. I will certainly not ignore the grudge between you and the dark race. Daoist Musang turned his hand and kept the eyeball. He did not know that Ningfan still had 5 such eyeballs. He also did not know that Ningfan had killed a total of 3 quasi-saint Dao Carps during this trip. Of course, strictly speaking, the 3 Dao Carps were not killed by Ningfan. Instead, they were killed by the black cat. Ningfan did not take out all 6 of the eyeballs. Since Musang valued these eyeballs so much, they must be very useful. It was already enough for him to exchange one of them for Musang's help. As for the remaining ones, he might as well keep them for the time being. Seeing that Musang finally agreed to help Ningfan, Xiang Bozi heaved a sigh of relief. In this case, his goal of coming to the Wooden Island could be considered to have been achieved. Xiang Bozi was in a good mood. Musang was also in a good mood after obtaining the Eye of the Young World. For the first time ever, he arranged a banquet on the Wooden Island to welcome Ningfan's group with great hospitality. During the banquet, everyone naturally discussed the Tao. Ningfan naturally benefited a lot from being able to exchange cultivation experiences with 2 quasi-saints. When they were half drunk, the topic naturally shifted to the Eye of the Young World. Musang did not hide anything from Ningfan. He explained the magical effects of the Eye of the Young World to Ningfan in detail. Only then did Ningfan realize that he did not use the method that Musang expected him to use to retrieve the eye. Xiang Bozi was also very surprised. Today, he finally found out that the correct way to attain the Palm Void Realm was to open one's eyes. No wonder the dark race wanted to deprive him of the sense of his eyes with their supreme ability. It turned out that they wanted to destroy the possibility of him opening his eyes. Opening your eyes is the correct way to attain the Palm Void Realm. At the same time, it is also a step that you must take to attain the second level of the quasi-saint realm. When Musang said that, he looked at Xiang Bozi with a sigh. Xiang Bozi also felt dejected. No wonder he still could not attain the second level of the quasi-saint realm. So this is the problem. The so-called opening of the eyes isn't as simple as it seems. Instead, it is to see the other side of the world. Every world has 2 sides, the yin side and the yang side. The world that we are in now is the illusory world. What we see in our daily life is actually just the yin side of the illusory world. Ningfan, Xiang Bozi, Old Wu and the disciples of the Wooden Island were more or less at a loss. They did not fully understand what Musang was saying. Musang could only express his helplessness. These people had never seen the yang side of the world with their own eyes. Thus, they would certainly feel that it was too abstract after listening to his explanation. In short, we, the people of the illusory world, are actually the people of the yin world. We are the part of the world that heaven and earth do not approve of. We can't live in the yang world unless we can open our eyes in the yang world. I don't understand. Old Wu scratched his ears and cheeks. He knew that what Musang was talking about was very precious, but he just could not understand it. If there is yang, there will be yin. If there is light, there will be darkness. Just like how humans have shadows and leaves have roots. We can't say that the people of the yin world do not exist. It's just that they are not recognized by the great Tao. If we, the cultivators of the illusory world, want to become saints, not only do we need to pursue perfection, but we also need to walk from yin to yang. However, this step is extremely difficult. Senior Mu, please don't talk about becoming a saint. It's too far away. Tell me about breaking through the second tribulation of the eternal era. I'm more concerned about this. Old Wu criticized inwardly. Of course, he did not dare to voice his thoughts out loud. In the illusory world, there are 3 races. The divine race, the demon race and the devil race. These 3 races are actually not recognized by the great Tao. Thus, I changed my cultivation path to Buddhism. What? The divine race. the demon race and the devil race are not recognized by the great Tao? Why haven't I heard of this before? Old Wu looked at Musang suspiciously. Could it be that the alcohol content of the spiritual wine was too high and made Musang drunk, causing him to start talking nonsense? There was an ancient sect called the Golden Talisman Palace. The founder of this sect was said to be closely related to the Daohun race. Most of the disciples in the sect could open their eyes and see the Yang world from the Yin world. Most of them had seen the Yang world with their own eyes, and left behind the scenery of the Yang world. They were called the eyes of the Yang world. After that, something happened to the Golden Talisman Palace, and it was destroyed. The treasure of the Golden Talisman Palace, the Golden Sky Black Map, also fell into this old man's hands. This map is filled with extremely powerful Yin and Yang energy. It can help a cultivator's primordial spirit and emperor qi perfectly fuse together, increasing the success rate of breaking through the bottleneck of the immortal emperor realm. Naturally, this old man values the countless eyes of the Yang world hidden in the map. It's a pity that you didn't open your eyes. Otherwise, you should be able to see countless bloody eyeballs floating in the painting world. Musang sighed softly. He was sure that Ning Fan's aptitude was not as good as Sun Luo's. The fact that he couldn't open his eyes in the painting world was the proof. The eyes of the Yang world can help cultivators open their eyes. It can also help cultivators who have already opened their eyes to see more scenery. It's a pity that you didn't get more eyeballs from the painting world. Otherwise, you can use some of them and it will be beneficial to you. When Musang said that, he observed Ning Fan's expression. When he saw Ning Fan's regretful expression, he could not help but shake his head. It seems like this young man really only got one eyeball from the painting world. If he still has more eyeballs, I might try to get them from him. Ning Fan's face was filled with pity. However, he was sighing inwardly. This Taoist Musang can be a strong aid, but he can't be a friend. I should hold back when I'm interacting with him. I can't be as casual as I was when I was interacting with Xiang Bozi. Speaking of which, every cultivator can see their own scenery when they open their eyes. When I opened my eyes in the past, I saw the scene of a woodcutter cutting down a pine tree. From that, I comprehended the origin of wood, and created my own palm void realm. When my son Sun Luo opened his eyes, it was said that he saw the scene of a woman feeding an eagle with meat. However, he didn't tell me the details. Only he knew. A woodcutter cutting down a pine tree, feeding an eagle with meat. Ning Fan pondered inwardly. If he uses up the 5 eyeballs in his hand, I wonder if he can open his eyes again and see his own scenery. After listening to Musang's explanation, most of the people did not understand anything from him. Only Ning Fan and Xiang Bozi revealed thoughtful expressions from time to time. After the banquet, Ning Fan made a request to Taoist Musang. He wanted to read the ancient books on the Wooden Island. Taoist Musang had collected many lost ancient books. Many of them were related to Buddha talismans and devil talismans. There were also many ancient records of cultivation methods, which could verify the first volume of Ning Fan's self-created Tao scripture. Since he had come to the Wooden Island, Ning Fan naturally wanted to read those ancient books. It was not a big deal. Thus, Taoist Musang agreed to Ning Fan's request. However, he would only let Ning Fan read the books if he paid the Tao crystals. Taoist Musang was shrewd in accounting. The reason why he collected the Tao crystals was not because he wanted to gain Ning Fan's karma for free. The number of Tao crystals that Ning Fan had was not a lot, but it was not little either. Anyway, it was definitely enough for him to read the books. To be honest, Taoist Musang was indeed a top-notch expert in the Eastern Heaven. Most of the books in his collection were unique copies, which greatly increased his knowledge. There were even books with records of the Tao soul race here. The Tao has a spirit. The Yang takes its spirit, and it is called the Tao soul. The Yin takes its spirit, and it is called the demon. The Tao has a body. Those who take the body of Yang are called Buddhas. Those who take the body of Yin are called devils. The Tao has a heart. The Yang takes its heart, and it is called desolation. The Yin takes its heart, and it is called God. There is dust in the Tao. The Yang takes the dust, and it is called tribulation. The Yin takes the dust, and it is called man. Tao Yu. After that, it seemed like there should be other words, but because it was incomplete, it could not be seen. When he connected this book with Musang's words, he seemed to have gained some understanding about the divine race, the demon race and the devil race. Buddha and devil corresponded. One cultivated Buddha talisman, the other cultivated devil talisman. Could it be that the relationship between the two was yin and yang? Tao soul, demon soul. Tribulation spirit. Barbarian cultivator. Could it be that they are related to one yang and the other yin? As for the desolation corresponding to the divine elementalists, what was it? At the end of this ancient book, there were some introductions about the Dao Hun clan. Among them, there was even a special introduction about the 9 raccoon. Of course, Ning Fan was very concerned about his little black cat. He carefully read the introduction about the 9 raccoon clan. The introduction was not very detailed. However, there was one sentence that made Ning Fan's expression change greatly. His face turned serious. According to what I know, there are 5th grade extreme yang items in the world which can prolong the Dao extinction date. The first is the primordial clear lotus leaf, the second is the ancient Dao immortal apricot, the third is the ancient desolate fusang, the fourth is the 9 raccoon soul blood and the 5th is the Saint Defire's breath. Ning Fan's heart pounded. He did not expect that he would actually find the method to cure Great Emperor Ancient Chaos in this ancient book. The primordial clear lotus leaf, the ancient Dao immortal apricot, and the ancient desolate fusang were 3 supreme treasures that only existed in the legends. It was Ning Fan's first time hearing about them. The Saint Defire's breath mentioned that a 4th step immortal sovereign could prolong the life of a person who was about to die. Of course, it was impossible for Ning Fan to find an immortal sovereign to blow at ancient chaos. As for the 9 raccoon soul blood, according to this book, if one could obtain a drop of the 9 raccoon soul blood, one could delay the Dao extinction date by 1,000 years. Ning Fan did not know that the blood of his little black cat actually had such a great use. If I can obtain a drop of the little black cat's soul blood, it shouldn't be too harmful to her, right? Then here comes the problem. This little black cat doesn't seem to be an adult yet. Chapter 978. Every world had a heavenly Dao, and every heavenly Dao had a soul. The Dao Hun clan was born along with the heavens and the earth, and they controlled the circulation of the heaven Dao and samsara. According to their levels, they could be divided into the mortal, immortal, emperor, and saint realms. The mortal grade was equivalent to the first step of cultivation. The immortal grade was equivalent to the life immortal and true immortal. The 12 levels of the sovereign grade were equivalent to the 9 tribulations of eternity and the 3 steps of pre-saint. And the saint grade was equivalent to the saint realm. According to Taoist Musang's ancient records, the relationship between the Dao Hun clan and the Yao clan was actually one yin and one yang. Dao Hun clan had obtained the acknowledgement of the great Dao. They were yang. It was said that the great Dao of the 3 great true worlds was controlled by Dao Hun clan. Besides that, more than half of the illusory world was also controlled by Dao Hun clan. The demonic beasts were not recognized by the great Dao. They were yin. They did not have the right to control the heavenly Dao of the true world. They were only qualified to control a small portion of the illusory world's heavenly Dao. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. Speaking of which, Li Xiaoxiao, who had a grudge against him, was once the soul of the heavenly Dao of the rain world. What Li Xiaoxiao controlled was the rain world's heavenly Dao. Her true form was that of a monster, and it was very likely that she was Fu Li. What the black cat controlled was the heavenly Dao in Fan family's untamed wasteland. Fan family's untamed wasteland was originally a piece of land in the untamed wasteland, so its heavenly Dao could be considered to belong to the true world. The 9 Raccoon clan was an extremely special Dao soul clan. They could increase their cultivation by devouring other Dao souls. Ning Fan had picked up quite a lot of quasi-sacred carp meat. It could probably help the black cat improve its cultivation base. However, it could not help the black cat enter adulthood. Ning Fan frowned slightly as he flipped through the ancient book in his hand. Unlike the monster race, it was very difficult for the Dao Hun clan to reach adulthood. Firstly, one's cultivation base and bone age had to meet the requirements of adulthood. Secondly, a special soul awakening ceremony had to be held. An underage 9 raccoon could not transform, and its soul blood did not have the ability to delay its Dao annihilation. If he wanted to save ancient chaos great emperor, he had to first let the black cat enter adulthood. The black cat's bone age and cultivation had long been qualified to reach adulthood. It only needed one more soul awakening ceremony before it could reach adulthood. But this was also the most troublesome part. There was no problem with the process of the soul awakening ceremony. There were detailed records in the ancient books. The troublesome part was that the process of the ceremony required the use of at least one natural grade Tao soul sacrificial artifact, and the ceremony couldn't be completed without the sacrificial artifact. Sacrificial tools were a very special type of magic treasure. Most of them were used to hold ceremonies. Different races had different sacrificial tools. When Ningfan was young, he had obtained many ancient demon sacrificial treasures. However, most of them were low-grade ones. High-grade sacrificial artifacts were basically kept in the temples of the various races. They were precious treasures that were passed down from generation to generation. Very few high-grade sacrificial artifacts were circulated to the outside world. Ningfan felt a headache coming on. Where was he going to find a sacrificial Tao soul of the 9 raccoon race? Moreover, the grade of the sacrificial tool had to be at the Xiantian grade. The number of Khanate magic treasures in the world could be counted on one's fingers, and among them, Khanate sacrificial artifacts were even rarer. The 9 Raccoons clan was a faction of power in the true world. They were not in the illusory world, so the chances of finding an innate sacrificial vessel of the 9 Raccoons clan in the illusory world were incredibly slim. Ningfan's eyes were filled with bitterness. It was so difficult to see the hope of saving ancient chaos, but this hope was so slim that it was close to none. Master, I know, where is the sacrificial item? In his mind, the voice of the little kitten suddenly sounded. She had already woken up from her coma. You know where the sacrificial item is? Where is it? Ningfan's expression changed slightly. I can't sense it accurately, but I can vaguely feel that somewhere in this starry sky, there is a sacrificial item of the 9 raccoon race. Ningfan fell into deep thought. His expression was mixed with joy and worry. He was happy because there was actually an innate sacrificial tool of the 9 raccoon race in the eastern heaven. However, he was worried because the black cat could only vaguely sense the existence of the sacrificial tool. Can you roughly determine the location of the sacrificial tool of the 9 raccoon race that you sensed? Ningfan asked. I'm sorry. The black devil's spirit sense isn't enough. I can't sense the entire eastern heaven. The black cat blamed itself. In other words, if your spirit sense is strong enough to cover the entire eastern heaven, you might be able to sense the location of the sacrificial tool. Ningfan's eyes flashed and he made up his mind. He put down the ancient book and quickly left the scripture tower. When he returned to his meditation room, he sat cross-legged on the cattail hassock. With a flip of his hand, he summoned the black cat. At this moment, the black cat had already eaten all of the quasi-sacred carp's meat after waking up. Her dispirited chi had already returned to normal. Her cultivation base had also improved a lot. Moreover, the energy of the quasi-sacred carp's flesh and blood had accumulated in her body. She was slowly refining them, causing her cultivation base to improve slowly and steadily. After summoning the black cat, Ningfan immediately merged with it. His cultivation base instantly soared to the level of the second tribulation of eternity. Then he displayed the heaven-prying rain technique. All of a sudden, a drizzle fell from the wooden island. With the island as the center, the drizzle spread across the entire eastern heaven. Not long after, the entire eastern heaven was shrouded by Ningfan's spirit sense. As for Ningfan himself, his chi was calm and neutral. It was as if he was just meditating. There was no trace of chi fluctuation being emitted. This is, be it Taoist Musang or Xiang Yitzi, all of them were slightly stunned at this moment. This rain, they could sense that this rain seemed to be man-made. However, they could not sense that Ningfan's spirit sense was hidden in the rain. It was untraceable. Ningfan had entered the Golden Sky Black map once to increase his cultivation base. He had personally experienced what a more profound rain technique was like. With that experience, the way he displayed the rain technique today became more natural. Even though he was clearly displaying the technique on the wooden island, and was not far away from Musang and Xiang Yitzi, The two of them could not sense where the source of the rain technique came from. Even these two quasi-sacred carp could not sense it, let alone the others. They would only think that this sudden rain was an ordinary rain created by a certain powerful cultivator. Even so, it was still enough to make people speechless. Rain covering the entire eastern heaven. What a big deal. In order to change the weather of the entire eastern heaven, one must at least have the cultivation base of a quasi-sacred carp. I wonder which old man is behind this rain. Musang muttered to himself. A few days ago, there was also a rain that covered the entire eastern heaven. It should be the work of the same person. The rain today seems to be more natural than the rain that day. It seems like that old monster's ability has improved again. When Ning Fan roared in the rain that day, only a small number of sects heard it. Musang did not hear it. Thus, he naturally did not know that the rain was caused by Ning Fan. Xiang Yitzi also did not know about it. However, he scanned Ning Fan's direction with his spirit sense thoughtfully. Ning Fan seemed to be meditating. There was no chi fluctuation around him. Could this rain be caused by this little guy? It must be this little guy. The rain last time and this time. Could this technique be the rain ancestors' heaven-prying rain technique? In the entire four heavens, no one could learn this technique. However, this young man could. With such aptitude, he really lives up to the name of the immortal monarch of rain. Xiang Yitzi, who had never underestimated Ning Fan, once again had a higher opinion of him. There is rain in the 9 heavens. My thoughts connect to a world. The clouds are my eyes and the rain is my thoughts. When I roared in the rain that day, I could already cover the entire eastern heaven with my spirit sense, without using the power of the black cat. Today, it is naturally easier for me to do this. My thoughts span a world. My thoughts span a world. Ning Fan's spirit sense seemed to have merged with the entire starry sky of the eastern heaven. At this moment, he had merged with the black cat. Naturally, the black cat could also see what he saw. The black cat could not search for the location of the sacrificial tool in the entire eastern heaven, but Ning Fan could help her. It's not here. It's also not here. Godly Void Pavilion, Slaughter Palace, Extreme Lightning Palace, Thousand-Year Sect, Medicine Sect. The black cat's spirit sense had merged with Ning Fan's spirit sense and the rain. It scanned the starry sky one after another, but it still could not find the location of the sacrificial tool. Pill Sect, Danxia Planet. In the main hall, the sect master of the Pill Sect was receiving guests. In recent days, many old monsters of the Eastern Heaven had accepted his invitation and came to the Pill Sect with the intention of joining the Anti-Ning Alliance. However, there were also many old monsters who were still observing or were still on their way to the Pill Sect. After exchanging some pleasantries, the sect master summoned his disciples to send the guests who had come from afar to rest. The meeting will be held in 20 days. Once the alliance is established, this old man will no longer need to be afraid of that kid Ning Fan. Among the 4 immortal venerables that I have invited, the old ancestor of the Sun family has already arrived. The old ancestor of the Wang family is also on his way. Old ancestor Han thinks that the reward is too little. If this old man increases the reward, I can also invite him. Only old ancestor Wu. This old ancestor Wu. Why hasn't he given me a definite answer until now? Forget it. Even if he doesn't come, this old man still has 3 immortal venerables on my side. Especially that old ancestor Han. It is said that he has already broken through to the second tribulation of eternity. When he thought of the powerful lineup of the alliance, the sect master of the Pill Sect felt relieved. Who would have thought that in just 100 years, that kid Ning Fan could actually reach this step today, and possess the terrifying cultivation base to kill old ancestor Diyun? Unfortunately, he was just a grasshopper after all. He would not be able to jump for long. Just as the sect master of the Pill Sect was sneering, he suddenly shuddered for no reason. Only then did he realize that it was raining heavily outside the main hall. This rain actually stretches across the starry sky without an end. I really don't know which senior displayed this ability. It's really unimaginable. The sect master of the Pill Sect clicked his tongue and sighed. Then he continued to arrange the matters of the alliance. However, he did not know that everything he did was within Ning Fan's perception. Pill sect. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He definitely would not miss the Pill Sect Alliance meeting that was going to take place 20 days later. He would definitely capture all of his enemies in one fell swoop. In the blue snow region of the eastern heaven, heavy snow fell all year round in the starry sky. On this day, the snow suddenly turned into rain. Right at this moment, a huge snow gate suddenly appeared out of thin air in the snow region. When the snow gate opened, an unruly old man who was topless and wearing a skirt made of animal skin walked out from it. His muscles were bulging and his entire body was filled with explosive strength. Behind the old man was a woman who was holding an umbrella and wearing a feather cloak. Strange. Why did the snow formation of my southern race suddenly rain? Did some old monster change the weather? Also, I don't know why, but there is a trace of chi in this rain that makes my heart skip a beat. The old man was imposing without being angry. There was actually the chi of a first-level quasi-saint around him. Only a few people knew that this old man was the old ancestor of the barbarian tribe of the southern race, Gu, Plague, Shaman and barbarian tribes, Tashur. Old ancestor, you must be joking. With your cultivation base, you will only feel fear when facing an ancient great cultivator. This rain doesn't have any destructive power. Why would it make your heart skip a beat? Perhaps, this rain is caused by that old fart of the dark race? Humph. That might not be the case in the current world. The old man frowned and said, Old fart of the dark race? The woman was puzzled. You are the saintess of my race. Now that you have broken through to the immemorial realm, it's time for you to know some secrets. Sigh. Forget it. These things can't be explained in a few words. Wait for that old man Nan Tianhua to come out of seclusion, and he will tell you personally. I wonder if that young man from the Zhao family can successfully invite that immortal Lord of Rain over. I still can't trust Lu Feng's words. How can this immortal Lord of Rain be the same person as that ancient great cultivator who swept across the desolate wilderness? If he isn't, the old man harumphed coldly. This sentence was transmitted through telepathy, causing the woman to frown slightly. Immortal Lord of Rain, Ning Fan. Ancient great cultivator, Zhao Jian. They are most likely not the same person. If Immortal Lord of Rain really has the cultivation base of an ancient great cultivator, why would he be so afraid of the dark race? Fine. I better handle this matter carefully. There is actually an entrance to the southern race hidden in this southern blue snow region. And what those two said just now. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. According to the quasi-saint old man's words, there is an old fart in the dark race who is comparable to an ancient great cultivator. As for the telepathy after that, he couldn't hear it. The rain was still pattering down. Within the 3,000 thunder realms, in a certain 6th grade thunder realm, a green-robed old man raised his head to look at the drizzle. His right hand was fiddling with a compass with 3 eyes drawn on it. His every action seemed to be deducing something. 94. Business is not yet peaceful. Illness is happy. Looks like that lord you won't be moved so easily. Sigh, for the sake of that girl, he might have to lower his head to Yujun. Whether he is Zhao Jian or not, this matter is still unknown. It is hard to tell whether it is good or bad. Even if he is not. Sigh. Everything is within this old man's calculations. However, when it comes to this child, this old man's calculations were not thorough enough. I didn't expect that in this world, there would actually be someone that I, Chongming Phoenix Emperor, couldn't calculate. The green-robed old man did not notice anything strange about the rainwater. Ning Fan also did not pay attention to him. He just scanned him with his spirit sense and left. Isn't it in the Supreme Lightning Palace either? Ning Fan asked in his mind. He deliberately spread out his spirit sense towards the direction of the great forces. His consideration was that if the 9 raccoon sacrificial artifact really existed, it was highly likely that it was in the hands of the great forces. No, it's not here. It's not there either. It's not here either. The black cat's breathing became a little hurried. She was using Ning Fan's ability to spy on the entire eastern heaven with her spirit sense. However, she was somewhat unable to bear the burden brought by such spying. Ning Fan's expression, however, remained calm. He had already gotten used to the huge consumption of his rain technique. Today, he had even cultivated the wood yin-yang technique. The advantage of the wood technique was that it could grow and multiply endlessly. Even if he did not actively replenish his magic power, the magic power in his body would recover at an astonishing speed. If he were to fight against an immortal venerable of the same level, he was afraid that there were not many who could last longer than him. I found it, the black cat suddenly said in surprise. Following the direction of the black cat's spirit sense, Ning Fan spread out his spirit sense. His eyes then turned solemn. Extreme Pill Sacred Region. The direction that the black cat pointed out was actually facing the entrance of the Extreme Pill Sacred Region. Could it be? The 9 raccoon sacrificial artifact that the little cat sensed is actually in the Extreme Pill Sacred Region? Ning Fan frowned. If that was the case, everything would return to the starting point. He still had to go to the Extreme Pill Sacred Region. Whether it was for the possible heaven-opening spiritual herbs or for the 9 raccoon sacrificial artifact. It's raining again. In the Extreme Pill Divine City of the Primal Core Star region, the Primal Core Great Emperor was originally in seclusion. When he sensed the rain covering the starry sky outside, he could not help but frown. He was a pill devil who possessed the power of a medicine soul. His senses were much sharper than ordinary people. He kept having the feeling that someone was spying on the Extreme Pill Divine City through the rain. Is it just an illusion? That Lord Yu is the successor of the ancient Chaos clan. The Yin-Yang locket is most probably with him. The Yin-Yang locket. Hehe. There should be the key to the passage to the sacred region in this locket. It can lead directly to the heaven-desolate ancient realm and head to the true world. According to the ancient records, this key can only be obtained by saints. This stone door is also equivalent to a wasted door. It won't attract the attention of the human race and the demon race at all. However, I don't believe it. I have a treasure in my hands. According to the ancient records, it should be able to ignore the rules and take out the key from the Yin-Yang locket. The Primal Core Great Emperor flipped his hand and took out an ancient fossil. It looked like amber, but at the same time, it did not. Inside the transparent fossil was a butterfly's wing. This wing seemed to be the left wing. The incision was neat, as if it was directly cut off by a sharp blade. On the surface, this butterfly wing looked ordinary, like the wings of an ordinary butterfly. The only difference was that the incision of this butterfly wing revealed a soul-stirring sword intent. What a frightening sword intent. Even with the cultivation base of the Primal Core Great Emperor and Immortal Emperor realm, when facing this sword intent, they still felt a chill down their spines. It was imaginable how peerless the expert who left behind this sword intent was. After so many years, just a trace of remnant sword intent was enough to make a dignified immortal emperor feel terrified. With another flip of his hand, he kept the fossil. No one knew about all of this. Even Ning Fan did not know that the Primal Core Great Emperor had looked through this thing when he was in seclusion. Who asked him to hide in the stone room? After confirming the location of the 9 raccoon sacrificial artifact, Ning Fan had no choice but to seriously formulate his current plan. Ning Fan must go to the Extreme Pill Sacred region. It's time to inform the Thousand Autumn sect and gather more information about it. I also need to inform the Six Desires sect so that we can gather information together. Ning Fan had already deactivated his rain technique. However, with a single thought in his mind, it began to drizzle outside the Six Desires sect and the Thousand Autumn sect at the same time without any warning. In the drizzle, Ning Fan's voice was transmitted directly to the subordinates of the two sects. He could actually transmit his voice to the entire heavenly connection realm regardless of the distance. Moreover, it only rained within the territories of the two sects. Ning Fan's rain technique was actually exquisite to such an extent that he could connect to an entire realm with his thoughts. This is the sect master's voice transmission. From which distance did the sect master transmit his voice to us? The subordinates of Du Jun in the Six Desires sect were all frightened by Ning Fan's means. 100 years ago, they served Ning Fan as their master. 100 years later, Ning Fan returned to the Eastern Heaven in a powerful manner, and ordered them to gather information about the Extreme Pill Sacred region. How would they dare to disobey? Compared to the Six Desires sect, the subordinates of the Thousand Autumn sect were much calmer. After all, They had already witnessed Ningfan's strength with their own eyes. Ningfan originally only had two purposes for coming to the Wooden Island. One was to repair the god-destroying shield, and ask Musang for help. Now that he had achieved both of his purposes, he planned to leave the Wooden Island after dealing with the last few spoils of war. After asking around, Ningfan found out that the 3 500-colored light balls were the clan luck that the Black Cat had obtained from the Dao Carp clan. Ningfan did not know much about the clan luck, and he could not use it to increase his own luck. He could only use it to increase the luck of a sect or a clan. When Ningfan returns to the Thousand Autumn sect and uses it, he could increase the luck of the sect by 1,500 colors in a short period of time. Of course, this luck could also be added to other forces. Ningfan had not experienced the benefits of the clan luck yet. Hence, he did not put it to heart. What he cared about was the 5 quasi-sacred carp eyes. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. The reason why Taoist Musang was so respectful seemed to be because he could not open his eyes, which disappointed Musang. According to Musang's tone, he was implying that he was inferior to Sinluo. Ningfan had been cultivating for many years. His heart was as firm as a rock. He did not care whether his aptitude was higher or lower than Sinluo. He also did not care about Musang's opinion. Aptitude could not decide everything. Besides, Ningfan had a vague feeling that the reason why he could not open his eyes was not because he did not have enough aptitude. More importantly, it was because he was suppressed by an external force. I am clearly already at the second level of the celestial being realm. However, I can't open my eyes in the painting world like Musang and Sinluo. After entering the painting world, I even fell into the dream world 60 times. If it wasn't because I sensed karma, I would have almost been unable to break free from the endless dream world. Karma is the reason why I walked out of the painting world. At the same time, it is also what I suspect. Before I entered the painting world, the yin-yang locket in my body clearly vibrated and resonated with something in the painting world. However, after I entered the painting world, that feeling did not appear again. It was as if there was a force that forcibly cut off the connection between that mysterious object and the yin-yang locket. Since the feeling lasted for a lifetime, there naturally would be karma. There is karma between that mysterious object and the yin-yang locket. However, after I entered the painting world, I only found the 60 instances of karma between me and Carp 4. I did not find the karma between the yin-yang locket and that mysterious object. The moment I stepped into the painting world, the karma that affected the yin-yang locket was cut off. I don't know if it was done by someone or for some other reason. The thing that resonated with me might be the yin-yang locket itself. Perhaps it isn't. When Ningfan recalled the sound of water dripping and the mysterious woman's voice, he felt as if there was a huge rock pressing on his heart, suffocating him. What is the origin of the owner of that voice? Everything in the painting world was a dream. Was that voice his dream or the dream of the Carp generals? If I open my eyes after entering the painting world, would I be able to find out where that voice came from? Open my eyes. Open my eyes. If I open my eyes, I might be able to clear up the doubts in my heart. Ningfan went into the profound Yin world and took out the first eyeball from the cave dwelling in the western profound Yin world. The eyeball that he gave to Musang was Carp 4's left eye. This eyeball was Carp 4's right eye. He placed both of his palms flat and placed the carp eye in the center of his palms. He could feel that there was an extreme yang power in this carp eye that was strong enough to burn a world. That should be the thing that Taoist Musang coveted. According to Musang, there are 4 types of methods to take an eye, 7 types of methods to nourish an eye, and 12 types of methods to devour an eye. Cutting a carp to take the eye is a bad method. It will damage the sceneries in the carp eye. In order to restore the sceneries in the 7 types of sceneries, I must nourish the carp eye carefully and then devour the eye. Green light shone from Ningfan's palms. He was using an endless amount of wood magic power to repair the carp eye in his palms. After an unknown amount of time, Ningfan suddenly flipped his hand and tossed the carp eye high up into the air. Then he performed countless hand seals on the carp eye. The ordinary-looking carp eye suddenly sprouted like a seed and bloomed into a flower. In just 10 breaths' time, it completely bloomed and turned into a white lotus. According to Senior Musang, this lotus is formed from the extreme yang power in the carp eye. Once it turns into a lotus, it can only survive for 12 breaths time. If I can't devour this lotus within 12 breaths time, the lotus will wither and the carp eye will be destroyed. Ning Fan's eyes became extremely serious. He activated the power of the yin-yang locket in his dantian to its maximum, and summoned the yin-yang square seal to protect himself. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed the white lotus. All of a sudden, the white lotus turned into a ray of scorching white light, and was swallowed by Ning Fan. All of a sudden, he felt a burning pain in his abdomen, as if he had swallowed a soldering iron. This was the extreme yang power in the carp eye. Only the people of the yang world could safely absorb it. If the people of the yin world tried to absorb it by force, it would be extremely dangerous. Even though he had the yin-yang locket and the yin-yang square seal to protect himself, Ning Fan still felt unbearable pain. However, he did not care about the pain and absorbed the extreme yang power madly. Ning Fan ignored the burning pain in his body. He only wanted to devour the white lotus within 12 breaths time. For that, he did not hesitate to pay a small price. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 9 breaths. If Musang knew that Ning Fan only used 9 breaths to devour the first white lotus, he would certainly be shocked. One should know that even Musang used 11 breaths to devour the yang eye white lotus for the first time. Moreover, his internal organs were directly burned by the extreme yang power in the lotus. Of course, that was because Musang lacked a protective magical treasure. When he devoured the yang eye white lotus for the second time, he forged the yin-yang square seal to restrain the extreme yang power of the lotus seed. Ning Fan was different. Not only did he obtain Musang's yin-yang locket, but he also had the chaotic ancient emperor treasure, the yin-yang locket. He also had a ruthless nature. Therefore, he used less time than Musang. As soon as he devoured the extreme yang power, the scenery in front of him was instantly washed away like a layer of water, revealing a different scenery. The scenery in the profound yin world disappeared from Ning Fan's eyes. He was clearly still sitting in the profound yin world. In the black cat's eyes, Ning Fan was indeed still sitting there. However, the black cat could not see the scenery that Ning Fan saw. It was as if he was in another time and space. Is this the scenery that Senior Musang mentioned? Unfortunately, this is not my scenery. It's what Carp foresaw before. The scenery that Ning Fan saw was a boundless desert. In the middle of the desert, there was a burly man who was dressed like a member of the western regions. He was lying on the sand, and was on the verge of death under the scorching sun. Thirsty. I'm so thirsty. If there is an afterlife, I want to be a fish and live in the water for the rest of my life. That way, I won't die of thirst. With Ning Fan's eyesight, he immediately saw 2 karma lines on the burly man's body. It was unknown what they connected the burly man to. 2 karma lines. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with confusion. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, the scenery disappeared as if it was washed by water. The scenery of the profound yin world reappeared in front of Ning Fan's eyes. Is this the scenery in Carp 4's eyes? What does this scenery mean? Unfortunately, Carp 4 had given his left eye to Musang. He did not know that the scenery in his left eye and right eye were different. Drip, 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 drip. After consuming one of the carp eyes, Ning Fan suddenly heard the sound of water dripping in his ears again. Right after that, it was the voice of that woman. Little butterfly, stop sleeping. Wake up quickly. Little butterfly, stop sleeping. Stop sleeping. If you continue sleeping, you won't be able to make it in time for the ancient desolate mountain's morning moon that occurs once every 10 years. Morning moon? What is that? Ning Fan pondered for a moment, and consumed one of the carp eyes. Not only did he see Carp 4's scenery, but he also heard another sentence. However, he did not know what the meaning behind it was. The voice of that woman was getting closer and closer. It was as if she was about to appear in front of Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. He wondered if this woman who was calling him was the scenery after he opened his eyes. It seems like I'm one step closer to opening my eyes. If I continue to consume the carp eyes, just as this thought appeared in his mind, Ning Fan heard the sound of chains for the first time. He did not know where the sound came from. As soon as the sound of chains rang, the slight feeling that Ning Fan had of opening his eyes suddenly disappeared. The sound of chains was clearly preventing him from opening his eyes. Chapter 979. What kind of power is preventing me from opening my eyes? The sound of the chains clashing gradually disappeared. Ning Fan pondered for a moment. The moment the sound of the chains clashing rang out, he felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he was a lone boat in the middle of a vast ocean, surrounded by towering waves. If he wasn't careful, he would drown in the ocean. There was a will within the chains, the will of the heavens. It was as if he went against this will, his Tao, his everything, would be erased by the will of the heavens. It was the will of the heavens that rejected his Tao. Adherence to the Tao. The people of the Yin world couldn't open their eyes because they couldn't obtain the approval of the heavens. The heavens didn't allow the people of the Yin world to see the scenery of the Yang world. Only the lucky Yin world people who obtained the approval of the heavens and had sufficient talent could open their eyes. Initially, Ning Fan did not know about this, but now he had a guess. Could it be that the reason why he couldn't open his eyes wasn't because he didn't have enough aptitude, but because he cultivated Tao persistence, which was not tolerated by the heavens and earth? Duzhen, shedding void, thought shattering. Each of the three realms of the true immortal realm required the cultivator to give up the obsession in his heart. Cultivators needed to abandon the mortal world in order to embark on the path of immortality. Buddhist cultivators should not have any obsessions in their hearts. If they did, they would enter a demonic barrier. Every single aspect of cultivation requires one to discard one's obsession. However, Ning Fan was unwilling to do so. Instead, he chose the Tao of reluctance. Heaven asked cultivators to let go of their obsessions. That was why there were no true bridges on the true illusion river that belonged to Tao enforcers. If the people of the Yin world were existences that were not recognized, then the people of the Yin world who cultivated the Tao were unprecedentedly not recognized. It was naturally extremely difficult for them to open their eyes. If that's the case, it's not surprising that I can't open my eyes. Is it because the heavens don't approve of it? From the looks of it, in order to open one's eyes, one must first obtain the recognition of the heavens as much as possible. It was no wonder that Taoist Mu Song insisted on cultivating the ancient Buddha. The ancient Buddha was an existence recognized by the heavens. What he sought was most likely the approval of the heavens to reduce the difficulty of opening his eyes. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. He possessed the cultivation base of 4 elements. Other than the tribulation sense cultivation base, the other 3 elements belonged to the power that heaven and earth did not recognize. As for his Tao, it was an anomaly that was rejected by the world. If it were Musang, he would most likely give up his cultivation of the 3 elements of God, Yao, and Devil in order to obtain the approval of the heavens. He would give up on the Tao and follow the will of the heavens. In this way, the difficulty of opening his eyes would be reduced, and he would be able to walk step by step from Yin to Yang. However, Ning Fan was not Musang. He would not give up his Tao just to open his eyes. The heavens don't approve? What if I have to go against the will of the heavens and force my eyes open? Ning Fan turned his hand and took out Li San's left eye. Just like what he did before, he made the eye turn into a lotus flower and swallowed it. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, 8 breaths. With the experience of swallowing the white lotus the first time, he only used 8 breaths to absorb a trace of extreme yang from the white lotus this time. Before his eyes, the world seemed to have been washed, and then another scene appeared. This scene was what Li San saw when he opened his eyes, and it remained in his left eye until now. In the image, it was a village with mountains on one side and a river on the other. The population of the village was not large, and beside a small river at the entrance of the village, there was a bald old man fishing by the river. Beside him was a bamboo basket. There were already a few fishes caught in the bamboo basket. The old man looked at the river with eyes as deep as the starry sky. Today people fish, but in the future the heavens fish for me. This is karma. The old man suddenly let out a sigh. When he let out this sigh, 2 more karma scenes appeared on his body at the same time, as if they were guiding 2 completely different paths. Today people fish, but in the future, The heavens fish for me. Ning Fan muttered to himself. This sentence fully explained the law of karma and samsara. Speaking of which, the scene in Li San's left eye was a man who died of thirst in the desert. Before he died, he longed to be reincarnated as a fish in his next life. The scene in Li San's left eye was the scene of the old man fishing. Come to think of it, the scenes that both of them saw seemed to be related to fish. Karma. Could it be? Ning Fan had a guess in his mind, but he was not completely sure. Similar to the scene he saw when he took the lotus for the first time. The scene this time also only lasted for 3 breaths before disappearing. When he finished watching the second scene, the mysterious dripping sound of water resounded again. Then it was followed by the woman's call. Each call sounded as if it was right beside his ears. After that, it was the sound of the chains clashing against each other, trying to stop Ning Fan from opening his eyes. He still could not open his eyes. However, this time after the sound of the chains, Ning Fan actually heard some other sounds. It seemed to be the voices of 2 children conversing. Obviously, it was not useless for him to keep consuming the carp's eye. There was still some use for it. This woman has a strong heart. Unfortunately, the great Tao is merciless. I'm afraid that she will have to wait for nothing. We, the Tao children of the Holy Sect, have been guarding this snow valley for countless years. However, we have never seen the souls of the dead of the snow valley of the mortal grade return to the true world. This woman has waited for 42 cycles of samsara. Her physical body has turned into ashes and her spiritual sense has turned into green smoke. However, her infatuation is still there. I really don't know what kind of person could make her yearn for him so much. This was the voice of one of the children. It's hard to wake the dead, let alone a dead person without any immortal foundation. This snow valley is a mortal grade. The owner of this coffin is naturally immortal. It's very difficult to return to the true world. I heard from Master that the living being sealed in this coffin is not a human, but a butterfly from the mortal world. This butterfly does not have any cultivation base. However, Master said that this butterfly had committed a serious crime with its mortal body. It angered that existence in the ancient desolate mountain, and was killed by that existence with the 3rd son of the desolate sword. TSK. A mere mortal butterfly actually attracted the attention of an immortal sovereign, and was even killed by the 3rd son of the desolate sword. Do you believe this? Master also said that in the end, even that existence in the purple mountain Do Hai took action, and took back the body of this butterfly from the 3rd son of the desolate mountain Do Hai. If it wasn't for that, this butterfly would probably not even have ashes left. This was the voice of another child. Master is really old and muddle-headed. What right does a mortal butterfly have to be killed by a 4th-step immortal sovereign? What right does it have to be saved by another immortal sovereign? If it's the legendary 9 butterflies of the vast expanse, it might still be possible. But it's just a mortal butterfly. Anyway, this is something that happened 42 cycles ago. It's too long ago. Who knows if it's true or not? Moreover, since Master said this, it's even more unbelievable. It's most likely false. Who doesn't know that our Master is a cultivator of the Hongjun sacred sect, who loves to talk nonsense the most? If it wasn't because he loved to talk nonsense too much and offended the Hongjun of this generation, he wouldn't have been punished to the Snow Valley to reflect on his mistakes. By following such a master, even we can't raise our heads in front of our senior and junior brothers. That's right. I really regret having such a master. Just the day before yesterday, Master still said, there is a type of living being in this world whose strength lies in its ordinariness and ordinariness. It's because ordinariness and ordinariness are the yin side of immortals. If a mortal can possess extreme yin, even though yang cannot resist it, a mortal can kill an immortal. Yin or yang, which one is superior to the other? Sigh. Master is already hopeless. A mortal can kill an immortal. Cough cough. A mortal does not have any cultivation base. What right does he have to kill an immortal? In my opinion, Master has read too many books in his life, and he has damaged his brain. Master even said. That was the end of the voice. The 2 children seemed to be still talking about their master. However, Ning Fan could not hear the rest of their conversation. Ning Fan sucked in a breath of cold air. The things he heard this time seemed to be quite extraordinary. Hongjun's sacred sect. Snow Valley. Women. 42 reincarnations. Butterfly. Ancient desolate mountain. The third son of the desolate sword. Purple mountain battle ocean. The conversation between the two children seemed to be related to extremely terrifying secrets. Even if Ning Fan could not understand the specific meaning of their conversation, he could guess that these words were not ordinary. It was definitely not something that the cultivators of the illusory world could say. Is this a conversation between the people of the illusory world? Could it be that the butterfly was referring to me? Or perhaps it was referring to something else? What kind of place is the Snow Valley? What does the Hongjun holy sect refer to? Why would he, Ning Fan, know about these secrets? Could it be that the conversation between the two children was part of the scene that he saw after he opened his eyes? Karma. Karma. Could it be? What Ning Fan was especially concerned about was the last sentence that the two children said. Master also said that there is a type of living being in this world whose strength lies in its ordinariness and ordinariness. Because ordinariness and ordinariness are the Yin side of immortals. If a mortal can possess extreme Yin, even though Yang cannot resist it, a mortal can kill an immortal. Mortals were Yin while immortals were Yang. This was also the correspondence between Yin and Yang. All Yin and Yang things in the world could go against each other. This was the conclusion that Ning Fan had obtained after cultivating the great Tao of Yin and Yang for many years. Fire could boil water dry while water could also extinguish fire. The Yin side and the Yang side might not necessarily be superior to each other. What the master of the two children said made a lot of sense. If a mortal resides in Yin while an immortal resides in Yang, a mortal with extreme Yin can also kill Yang. Theoretically, it was true. However, when people first heard it, they would feel that it was ridiculous. A mortal can kill an immortal. Can a mortal really kill an immortal? Somehow, when he thought of this question, Ning Fan recalled the scene in the ancient heavenly court where the butterfly's wings destroyed the eye of the palm of love in his previous life. If a mortal can possess extreme Yin, even though Yang cannot resist it, a mortal can kill an immortal. If a mortal can possess extreme Yin, this sentence kept resounding in Ning Fan's mind. It completely swept away the slight waver in his Tao heart after he met Musang. When he saw that Musang and Sun Luo could open their eyes but he could not, it was not that he did not doubt his own aptitude. When he saw that Musang could open his eyes and see the scenery of the Yang world but he could not, he did feel regretful. When he saw that the heavens will prevented him from opening his eyes, he did feel resentful and wanted to fight against the heaven. However, this resentment was extinguished when he heard this sentence. If a mortal can possess extreme Yin, Ning Fan seemed to have seen a brand new path of cultivation. A path that was different from all the cultivators in the illusory world. The illusory world was the Yin side of the three great true worlds. The cultivators in the illusory world were the citizens of the Yin world. The only way out was to follow the will of the heaven and cultivate step by step from Yin to Yang. Step by step, they would become a citizen of the true world. In order to attain the third step, this was certainly the path that the citizens of the Yin world must take. However, what if Ning Fan did not take this path? If he insisted on walking in the Yin world, and living in the Yin world, what would happen if he walked all the way to the extreme Yin world? What if he insisted on not opening his eyes, and continued walking on this path with his eyes closed? If he opened his eyes, it would be a path. If he closed his eyes, it would also be a path. I really want to know what kind of expert the master that the two children mentioned is. Just a few words from him could make me feel enlightened all of a sudden. He certainly isn't an ordinary person. Ning Fan thought to himself. The sound of dripping water, the woman's call and the conversation between the two children are highly likely to be part of the scene after I open my eyes. Even though I haven't opened my eyes yet, I can hear more and more voices. Does this mean that the more carp eyes I devour, the closer I will be to opening my eyes? Let's see what kind of effect there will be after I consume the third carp eye. Ning Fan did what he did before and consumed the third carp eye. It was Li San's right eye. This time, what appeared in front of him was still the scene of the old man fishing. It turned out that the scenes contained in Li San's left and right eyes were the same. However, the perspective was different. The perspective of Li San's left eye was the old man fishing, while the perspective of his right eye was the fish in the river. When Ning Fan saw the old man fishing again and heard the old man saying, "If I fish today, the heavens will fish me in the future again," Ning Fan's feeling was different from before. Ning Fan's eyes became blank for a moment. For a moment, he actually felt that he had merged into the scene and became the old man fishing, looking at the fish in the river with a complicated expression. At the same time, he also felt like he had become the fish that the old man had caught and was struggling desperately on the hook. In just 3 breaths of time, he seemed to have experienced the life of the old man fishing and also the life of the fish in an instant. After 3 breaths of time, the scene disappeared. Ning Fan was still sitting there blankly. His eyes were flashing with green light. He seemed to have been possessed by a devil. It was as if he could not distinguish whether he was the old man fishing or the fish, or both of them at the same time. The feeling of enlightenment became stronger and stronger. At a certain moment, Ning Fan suddenly woke up from the devil's trance and came to a realization. His entire body was drenched in sweat and his heart was still pounding. What happened to him just now? Wait. Why are there carp scales on the back of my hand? Ning Fan sucked in a breath of cold air. Only now did he realize that in just a few breaths of time, a trace of power of the Dao carp lineage had appeared in his body. With just a thought, fish scales appeared on his body. With another thought, all the fish scales returned to his body. Why is there an additional power of the Dao carp lineage in my body? Ning Fan's expression became extremely solemn. He realized that the additional power of the Dao carp lineage was fusing with the demon blood in his body, causing a new type of demon carp blood to gradually appear in his demon blood. The blood of the demon carp was very thin, but it really existed. The Dao Hun clan and the demon race had a corresponding relationship of yin and yang. Their powers could devour and fuse with each other under certain conditions. As the additional Dao carp lineage was too weak, it was assimilated by Ning Fan's demon blood and turned into his demon blood. This demon blood of the carp lineage is very thin, but it actually contains a trace of the power of the Palm realm. Ning Fan carefully sensed the additional bloodline of the carp lineage in his body. There's no mistake. This trace of bloodline does indeed contain the power of the Palm realm. After consuming the carp eye and seeing the scene after opening its eyes, Ning Fan could actually cultivate a trace of the power of the Palm realm. This was really unbelievable. It seems like the method of opening the eyes that Taoist Musang mentioned is true. This method can really help cultivators cultivate the void realm of the Palm realm. However, there was one thing that Ning Fan could not understand. He did not gain any benefits from consuming Li Si's single eyeball. When he consumed Li San's left eye, he also did not gain any benefits. However, after consuming his right eye, he gained some benefits. Why was that? Could it be that I have to consume both eyeballs at the same time in order to gain any benefits? No. That's definitely not the case. Didn't you see how happy Musang was when he obtained a single carp eye? From this, I can tell that even if I only have a single carp eye, I can still gain some benefits. After consuming Li San's left eye, the scene I see is the old fisherman's point of view, while the scene in my right eye is the fish's point of view. The old fisherman and the fish. 2 karmic ties. Ning Fan gently closed his eyes and recalled the scene in Li San's eye. It was as if he had once again become the old fisherman and the fish. Today, people fish, but tomorrow, the heavens fish me. These words kept echoing in Ning Fan's ears. Suddenly, Ning Fan opened his eyes as if he had understood something. That old man was not fishing for a fish. He was fishing for himself. This strange thought suddenly appeared in Ning Fan's mind, and he could not get rid of it anymore. This old man was fishing for himself. He was fishing for him to become a fish in his next life and meet with him in his next life. This scene seemed to contain a profound understanding of the great Tao. Unfortunately, Ning Fan could not figure it out no matter how hard he tried. Thus he could only give up on it. However, there was one thing that Ning Fan was sure of. The benefit he obtained from the carp's blood was definitely related to the feeling of being a fisherman, and sometimes being a fish. Swallowing the carp eye is to see the scene of others. If I can comprehend it, I will be able to gain some benefits from it. However, this kind of benefit is still incomparable to the benefit I get from opening my eyes and looking at my own scenery. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to cultivate my own void mastery realm based on the scenery of others. I'm a persistent cultivator. It's harder for me to open my eyes compared to others. Fortunately, I have swallowed the extreme yang in 3 carp eyes. I'm already much closer to truly opening my eyes. If there's enough extreme yang, I have the confidence to forcefully open my eyes even if the sound of the chain stops me. I just don't know how much extreme yang I need to truly open my eyes. Ning Fan turned his hand and took out the 4th eyeball. He swallowed it according to the method he used before. It was Li Er's left eye. After that, he swallowed Li Er's right eye. The scene in Li Er's left eye was a temple. There was a water vat in the temple, and a monk was feeding the carp in the water vat. The scene in Li Er's right eye was the same as his left eye. However, the perspective was different. One was the monk's perspective while the other was the carp's perspective in the water vat. At a certain moment, the monk even exchanged glances with the carp in the water vat. At that moment, Ning Fan had an extremely strong feeling. The monk wasn't looking at the carp, but himself. As expected, after experiencing the monk's perspective and the carp's perspective respectively, Ning Fan once again cultivated a trace of the carp clan's demon blood in his body. Even though the bloodline was thin, it still contained a trace of Palm Realm power. No one should underestimate this trace of bloodline. After all, Ning Fan could cultivate 9 types of demon yin yang qi. When the conditions are right in the future, he could just cultivate 1 carp yin yang qi. For now, he didn't need to care about the carp clan's demon blood. There was only one thing that mattered the most to him right now: to open his eyes. After absorbing the extreme yang in the 4th carp eye, Ning Fan did not hear any more sounds. However, he saw the existence of the chains for the first time. Everything around him seemed to have turned into nothingness and no longer existed. Ning Fan was clearly still in the profound yin world, but it was as if he was standing in a barren void. Above the void, there were 12 illusory stone bridges standing in front of him. When he absorbed the extreme yang in the 5th carp eye, those illusory stone bridges became solid in front of him. Each of the 12 stone bridges emitted a different divine light, giving people a vast and untouchable feeling of holiness. Can you see these stone bridges? Ning Fan asked the void next to him. In fact, it was not the void but the place where the black cat was lying. It was the profound yin world. Black Devil doesn't understand. What stone bridges are there? The black cat yawned lazily. She did not see any stone bridges in this place. It was the scenery of another dimension. She could not see it, but Ning Fan could. Is this a scenery that only I can see? Ning Fan thought to himself. Clang clang, the 12 stone bridges were connected from end to end. Ning Fan tried to fly towards the first stone bridge. As soon as he moved, he heard the sound of chains clashing. Gradually, dark red chains appeared on his body and bound him. The closer he got to the stone bridge, the tighter the chains bound him. They almost sank into his flesh. 100 zhang, 90 zhang, 80 zhang. Even with Ning Fan's cultivation base that was comparable to an ancient immortal venerate, he could only fly to 70 zhang away from the stone bridge. If he gets any closer, his flesh would be crushed by the chains, and he would be severely injured. The chains were not real. They were the images of the will of heaven which prevented Ning Fan from approaching the stone bridge. Back off! Back off! Back off! Residents of the yin world. You have no right to ascend the origin bridge with your body to atone for your sins. On the body of the first stone bridge, a stone eye suddenly opened and stared at Ning Fan with indifference and mercilessness. It was the guardian of the origin bridge. Its true form existed in the 3 great true worlds. What appeared in front of Ning Fan was just a projection. If a cultivator opened his eyes and summoned this bridge, it would appear in the form of a projection. Ascending the origin bridge was a special benefit for the residents of the yang world. They could obtain the blessing of heaven by ascending the bridge. The cultivators who opened their eyes for the first time could also see the projection of the origin bridge. Bridge god Gujiang felt very depressed. Which illusory world is this? I have no idea. There are hundreds of billions of illusory worlds. Who can remember where this place is? Who is this cultivator from the Yin world? I have no idea. I am the bridge god Gujiang. There is no way I would know a Yin cultivator from the illusory world. This young man seems to have never opened his eyes before. Why is there so much extreme yang in his body? The upper world actually sensed it, and made me mistakenly think that someone in this world has opened his eyes again. That was why I eagerly sent my projection here. This young man has never truly opened his eyes. There is no doubt about it. If he opens his eyes, the extreme yang in his body will gradually transform into the breath of the true world, which is unique to the cultivators of the true world. Even if it is the first time he opens his eyes, a small amount of extreme yang will complete the transformation. However, this young man does not have the breath of the true world in his body at all. Humph. This time, I really made a huge mistake. A cultivator who has never opened his eyes actually deceived me into sending my projection here. Bridge god Gujiang felt that his intelligence had been greatly insulted. Besides, this young man has the Tao soul blood shackles on him. There is no doubt about it. Only cultivators who have committed the 10 great sins would be bound by these Tao soul blood shackles. It is the rejection of heaven. Judging from the number of these shackles, this young man has committed at least the 4th, 5th and 6th of the 10 great sins. The Dao Hun clan has set up a heavenly rule. Cultivating stubbornness is the 4th sin, consorting with demons is the 5th sin, and refusing to accept the heavenly mandate is the 6th sin. I wonder which sin this young man has committed. No matter what, he is undoubtedly a sinner. Humph. A sinner cannot be placed on the origin bridge. Bridge god Gujiang stared at Ningfan coldly as if he was giving him a warning. He had already made a huge mistake by mistakenly sending down the projection of the origin bridge. If he lets another sinner on the bridge, and this matter spreads out, he would be punished by the 3 upper sects and the Dao Hun clan. What is the origin bridge? What does it mean to be a sinner? Ningfan was not angered by bridge god Gujiang's warning. Instead, he asked in a very calm manner. Humph. I am the bridge god of the origin bridge. Who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to ask me questions? Gujiang said angrily. Ningfan's eyes turned slightly cold. This bridge god seems to be a little too arrogant. The origin bridge and the bridge god in front of him were just projections. They were the product of the condensation of the Tao origin power. They were not real entities. They were somewhat similar to the Yin Phoenix in the Yin Yang square seal. Ordinary cultivators would not be able to hurt this origin bridge, or the projection of bridge god Gujiang. It was only because Gujiang saw that Ningfan's cultivation base was not high that he dared to be arrogant. After making such a huge mistake, Gujiang was already in a bad mood. He wished that he could immediately return to the true world. However, every time he sent a projection, he would need to wait for 1 hour before he could retract it. If a cultivator who had opened his eyes stepped onto the bridge within this 1 hour, he would have completed his task, and he would be able to get some merit points when he returns. However, the person who summoned the projection of the origin bridge was a sinner who had not opened his eyes. He was a sinner who had not opened his eyes. Sending a projection to a cultivator who had not opened his eyes was considered a mistake. When he returns, he would have to deduct at least 500 merit points. That was 500 merit points. Gujiang's heart was bleeding. If he lets another sinner step onto the bridge, it would not be as simple as deducting 500 merit points. He would have to deduct at least 2,000 merit points. Humph. I must not let this sinner step onto the bridge. Gujiang did not have a good impression of Ningfan at all. Thus, his tone was naturally as bad as possible. Since he knew that Ningfan would not be able to hurt him, he naturally did not put him in his eyes. Just as he was about to withdraw his projection after 1 hour, he suddenly felt an extreme sense of danger, causing his stone eyes to be filled with terror. At this moment, Ningfan took out the memory-severing Dao sword and slightly raised the tip of the sword at the direction of the stone bridge. Logically speaking, that Dao sword was not a high-grade sword technique. However, Gujiang felt a sense of danger from it. There's no mistaking it. This sinner is using some kind of extremely terrifying sword technique. He can actually threaten the projection of my Dao origin with his immortal venerate cultivation base. Are you sure that I don't have the right to ask you questions? Ning Fan did not want to waste his breath on the bridge god anymore. If the bridge god still spoke arrogantly, he might as well kill him with a single slash. Gu Jiang was stunned by Ning Fan's straightforward and decisive style. It was his first time seeing such a rude and unreasonable cultivator of the Yin world, who actually swung his sword at the bridge god of the true world in such a matter-of-fact manner. Speaking of which, what Gu Jiang sent down was just a projection. If the projection is destroyed, his true body would at most suffer some injuries. It would not be life-threatening. However, there was a rule from the higher-ups. As the lofty bridge god, if he is injured by a cultivator of the Yin world, it would be regarded as a disgrace to the Dao Hun clan, and he would have to deduct at least 5,000 merit points. No way. How can I do this? Merit points are my lifeblood. How can I deduct it? Thus, the bridge god Gu Jiang changed his attitude from arrogance to humility. His tone instantly became amiable, as if he had just met his own father. Little sinner, ah no. My little friend from the Yin world, let's talk this out. Don't use your weapons. It will hurt our friendship. Isn't it just a few questions? Alright. I'll answer them. Thus, the bridge god Gu Jiang rambled on and on, telling Ning Fan all the information about the origin bridge. Of course, he did not mention a single thing that was related to the secrets of the true world. He had always been abiding by the rules set by the higher-ups. Seeing that Gu Jiang was tactful, Ning Fan kept his Dao sword and listened carefully. It was his first time hearing about the existence of the origin bridge in this world. Opening one's eyes was a path that must be taken in order to become a true saint. All cultivators who open their eyes are qualified to summon the projection of the origin bridge. However, even a true saint might not be able to walk through all 12 origin bridges. In fact, opening one's eyes was also divided into 12 levels. For example, Taoist Musang had already ascended the first origin bridge. The reason why he desired the eye of the Yang world so much was because he wanted to absorb the extreme Yang and ascend the second origin bridge as soon as possible. It was because only by ascending the first origin bridge could one break through to the second level quasi-saint realm. Only by ascending the second origin bridge could one break through to the third level quasi-saint realm. Even for cultivators who were not at the quasi-saint realm, ascending the origin bridge would also bring great benefits. For example, the benefit of ascending the first origin bridge was that it could help cultivators cultivate their own palm void realm bit by bit. If a cultivator can reach the end of the first origin bridge and take the 77th step, he could even break through the bottleneck of the second level quasi-saint realm. I didn't expect that I would actually summon the projection of the origin bridge without opening my eyes. What kind of heaven-defying luck is this? Ning Fan was slightly speechless. He had a feeling that his luck had improved by more than just a little after subduing Old Wu. Old Wu was a star of calamity that would last for 10,000 years. If others get close to him, they would definitely be tainted with bad luck. Could it be that Ning Fan's luck would increase instead of decreasing when he gets close to him? Was it because he was a Fuli cultivator? Each origin bridge is 77 steps long, Yang Qi said. Every step I take will bring me great benefits. Others have to open their eyes to see the origin bridge. I, on the other hand, have the chance to ascend the bridge without opening my eyes. The only troublesome thing was that Ning Fan's body was bound by chains. It seemed like he was still a sinner who was not allowed to get close to the origin bridge by the Great Tao. Currently, 70 zhang away from the first origin bridge was already Ning Fan's limit. If it was Mu Song, he might not be able to get any closer to the first origin bridge with his second-level quasi-saint realm cultivation base and the chains on him. If he goes all out, he should be able to move a few steps on the first origin bridge while wearing the chains. The projection of the origin bridge won't be wrong every time. I wonder if I will have such a chance the next time. Without these chains, with my current cultivation base, I would be able to walk the last 70 zhang and ascend the first origin bridge. As for how far I can walk on the bridge, I have no idea. It would be great if I don't have these chains. However, without these chains, Ning Fan would have probably opened his eyes the moment he entered the painting world with his innate potential. After opening his eyes, he could summon the projection of the origin bridge at any time. Then, ascending the bridge would not be considered as a rare opportunity. Forget it. I'll just carry the chains with me. With the god-exterminating shield, I should be able to offset some of the damage from the chains. Seeing Ning Fan mumbling to himself, the bridge god Gu Jiang muttered to himself. This brat is behaving strangely. Don't tell me he wants to climb the bridge? No, that's impossible. He has a lot of Dao Soul blood chains on him. This number is enough to stop weaker second-rank quasi-sages from ascending the origin bridge. This brat must have. Before he could finish, something happened that made his jaw drop. The surface of Ning Fan's body suddenly shone with rays of golden light. He forcefully entered within 60 zhang of the origin bridge while enduring the damage inflicted by the Dao Soul blood shackles. What a powerful protective magic treasure! It was at least a middle-grade Khanate dermic treasure. Otherwise, with this kid's cultivation, he definitely wouldn't be able to advance 600 feet. Middle-grade innate enchanted treasures were rare even in the three great true worlds. Gu Jiang was greatly surprised. With Ning Fan's cultivation base, it was really rare for him to possess a mid-grade innate magic treasure. However, 600 feet should be this child's limit, right? Just as Gu Jiang was thinking about that, he realized that Ning Fan had walked forward to 500 zhang, 400 zhang, 300 zhang, 300 feet. Could it be that this kid is using a high-grade Khanate Dharma treasure? Gu Jiang's expression changed. Even he did not have a high-grade Khanate Dharma treasure. Now he was a little envious of Ning Fan's wealth. However, even if he has a high-grade Khanate Dharma treasure, he would definitely stop at 300 zhang. Ning Fan continuously shortened the distance between him and the origin bridge. 200 zhang, 150 zhang. Even though the god-exterminating shield was a heaven-opening treasure, it was not a complete one after all. When it was 100 zhang away from the origin bridge, it could no longer completely negate the damage inflicted by the Dao Soul blood shackles. If he continues to advance, he would certainly suffer severe injuries. 100 zhang. The weapon this kid is using must be a supreme-grade Khanate Dharma treasure. Gu Jiang's eyes burned with passion. A supreme-grade Khanate Dharma treasure was something that even saints desired. He did not expect that a mere venerated immortal of the illusory dream world would actually possess such a supreme treasure. It really made him jealous. Unfortunately, he was just a projection. He could not kill others and seize their treasures. Otherwise, he could. Sigh. What a pity. Forget it. Even if this kid has a supreme-grade Khanate Dharma treasure, so what? His cultivation base is not high after all. If he wants to ascend the first bridge, he will definitely suffer severe injuries. He is a sinner after all. He mustn't ascend the bridge. Otherwise, 2,000 merit points will be deducted. Little friend, please wait. If you go any further, you will be heavily injured. The Dao Soul blood shackles were tools of torture formed from the will of the heavens and earth. Normally, they wouldn't cause any harm, but they wouldn't allow sinful cultivators to open their eyes and approach the origin bridge. So you can't. Gu Jiang was still trying his best to persuade Ning Fan, but Ning Fan completely ignored his advice. With a leap, he had already crossed the last 100 zhang and stepped onto the first bridge of the origin, standing on the first step. Bang! It was the sound of blood mist bursting out from Ning Fan's body. As expected, he was severely injured. Woo! The sound of a horn suddenly rang out around the origin bridge. Ah! It was Gu Jiang's cry of grief. The sinner ascended the bridge. Ah! 2,000 merit points flew away. Don't walk on the bridge, don't do that. Sir, you're a sinner. If you cross the bridge, I'll deduct 2,000 yuan. For every step you take, I'll deduct 500 yuan. Gu Jiang felt a little regretful, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. This sinner kid shouldn't have the ability to take a second step on the bridge. I don't think so. Woo! In the sky above the wooden island, the sound of a horn suddenly resounded. It was ancient and sorrowful. It reverberated between heaven and earth as if it was everywhere. No one could detect where the sound came from. As soon as the sound of the horn was heard, the entire wooden island began to snow. The temperature plummeted as if it had fallen into the middle of winter. Where did the sound of the horn come from? Old Wu and the other weaker experts could not understand why it was snowing all of a sudden. The weather recently was really strange. It rained one moment, and then it snowed the next. Xiangbozi was slightly shocked. The snowflakes that filled the sky were really shocking. Vaguely, there was a force that was enough to freeze the Tao origin power in his body. Fortunately, the sound of the horn did not have any evil intentions. Otherwise, even if he was a first-level quasi-sage, he would also be frozen into an ice sculpture by the sound of the horn. What kind of horn is this? What terrifying power! Could it be that some old monster of the eastern sky has obtained a new magic treasure and is testing its power? Xiangbozi said in shock. No. This sound of the horn is not made by others. It's the sound of heaven. Musong said excitedly. The sound of heaven? What does it mean? Xiangbozi was puzzled. It's literally what it means. Musong did not intend to explain further. His heart was filled with raging waves. It's actually the sound of the frozen horn. Who was the one who opened his eyes and caused the strange phenomenon of the origin bridge to ascend the first bridge of the origin? The sound of heaven is within the range of the wooden island. The person who caused the phenomenon must be nearby. Could it be? No. It's impossible. This young man clearly did not open his eyes. There is no trace of the qi of the true world in his body. However, who else could it be other than him? I've misjudged him. Even though Sun Luo opened his eyes in the past, he did not have the ability to ascend the first bridge of the origin. I also went through a lot of difficulties before I managed to ascend the first bridge of the origin. After that, after countless years, I only managed to take 14 steps on the first bridge. Out of the 77 steps on the first bridge, he only managed to take 14 steps. This was the gap between Musong and the third-level quasi-sage realm. If the person who ascended the bridge is really Ning Fan, then this young man's potential is unimaginable. The sorrowful sound of the horn suddenly blew across the starry sea around the wooden island like the cold wind in midwinter. In an instant, it froze the entire starry sea into ice. At this moment, two cultivators, one old and one young, were approaching the wooden island. As soon as they saw the aura of the cold wind, their expressions changed slightly. The old one was the Plague King, LV1. His cultivation base was not as profound as Musong and Xiangbozi. Thus, he could not feel the terror of the cold wind, which was enough to freeze the Tao origin power. The young man was dressed in red robes. He had cold brows and eagle-like eyes. His thin lips, which seemed a little harsh, were now wide open. It seemed that he was too shocked to say anything for a moment. Why is there the sound of the frozen horn on the wooden island? Old ancestor once said that only cultivators who have opened their eyes can cause the sound of heaven. Could it be that it was caused by Taoist Musong? This young man in red robes was the second young emperor of the barbarian tribe, one of the 4 tribes of the southern clan. With his identity in the southern clan, he had also heard of such secrets. Sure enough, this Musong has hidden his strength well. He cannot be underestimated. Since he can ascend the origin bridge, he is most likely a second-level quasi-sage. We must not offend this person during this trip. As for that Ning Fan, humph. If he is really a great cultivator from the ancient times, I will naturally invite him to the southern clan politely. However, if he isn't, the young man in red robe smiled coldly. If Ning Fan is not a great cultivator from the ancient times, he would not be polite anymore. Impersonating a cultivator of the southern clan was a great crime. He would certainly not let him off lightly. When LV1 saw the cold expression on the young man's face, he could not help but break out in cold sweat for Ning Fan. Inwardly he prayed. Oh, my sworn brother. I have asked you about it. You said that you have a way to deal with the people from the southern clan. Could it be that you are really a great cultivator from the ancient times? If you aren't, sigh. This is really troublesome. It's really troublesome. Chapter 980. Ning Fan forcefully ascended the origin bridge despite suffering severe injuries. His white robes were covered in blood. He was injured by the blood shackles on his body. This was still the result of him having the protection of the God-exterminating shield. Without it, Ning Fan would probably have been killed by the soul blood shackles the moment he ascended the origin bridge. The sound of the bugle horn echoed in his ears. As soon as it sounded, A ray of white light suddenly flew out from the first step of the origin bridge under Ning Fan's feet, and turned into a white lotus in front of him. It was obviously a snow-like lotus, but it had a terrifying temperature. That kind of temperature was not considered hot to the people of the Yang world. However, to the people of the Yin world, it was a heat that their lives could not touch. Extreme Yang. It was a white lotus that was filled with extreme Yang power. It was extremely similar to the white lotus formed by carp eyes. However, the extreme Yang power it contained was much more than carp eyes. What made Ning Fan especially surprised was that there were actually 2 lotus seeds on the white lotus. As soon as the lotus seeds appeared, the entire space trembled slightly as if it could not withstand the enormous energy contained in the lotus seeds. Bridge god Gujiang said before that if one ascends the origin bridge, he or she will receive a reward for every step he or she takes. Each of the 12 origin bridges has different rewards. The reward for the first bridge is a white lotus. There are also some people who are very lucky and obtained a white lotus with lotus seeds. The extreme Yang in the white lotus can help cultivators to open their eyes further and obtain the recognition of heaven. The lotus seeds, on the other hand, have other uses. These lotus seeds have a name in the 3 great true worlds called the lotus seed of absolute beginning. It has the miraculous effect of helping cultivators cultivate to the void palm realm. However, according to what bridge god Gujiang said, even the luckiest cultivator from the true world will not be rewarded with a lotus seed for every step he or she takes. Moreover, they will only be rewarded with 1 seed at a time. Those who can obtain a lotus seed on the first step of the bridge are less than 1 in 10,000. When I first ascended the bridge, I was rewarded with a lotus seed. Moreover, I was rewarded with 2 seeds at a time. But why? Even though I am the sinful cultivator that Gujiang mentioned, the reward I obtained is actually more than the others. Ning Fan pondered for a while. What he did not know was that the so-called sinful cultivator was just an insulting title that the Dao Hun clan used to refer to the 10 types of cultivators. Ji Xiao was a 4th-tier cultivator that the Dao Hun clan rejected. The Dao Hun race was in charge of the heavens, so they issued orders on behalf of the heavens that forbade cultivators from approaching the origin bridge. In reality, the origin bridge didn't discriminate against cultivators trying to climb the bridge. In fact, it even welcomed cultivators trying to climb the bridge. The rewards they offered were also far more generous than other cultivators. This was probably the special benefit of being a tenacious cultivator. 2 absolute beginning lotus seeds. Could it be that this child is actually a Ji Xiao? Bridge god Gujiang had rich experience and guessed inwardly. Ning Fan did not immediately take the second step. Instead, he kept away the white lotus and lotus seeds that the origin bridge had rewarded him, and refined them on the spot. The white lotuses and lotus seeds rewarded by the origin bridge could only exist for a short period of time. If they were not refined on the spot, they would vanish from the world, a waste. The refining process lasted for about a quarter of an hour. After refining the extreme yang in the white lotus, Ning Fan was still unable to break free from the shackles, and opened his eyes. His extreme yang was still far from enough. On the other hand, the 2 absolute beginning lotus seeds were of greater help to him. After consuming the lotus seeds, the rain star point, battle star point, dark star point and the wood star point in his right eye emitted a burning sensation at the same time. After that, the power of the palm realm contained in the 4 types of yin and yang actually increased by more than a few times. This child actually has 4 types of palm realm power. Moreover, after consuming the lotus seeds, the power of each of them has reached 10 Ling Jun. All 4 types of palm realm power can be considered as having small success in the palm realm. Bridge god Gujiang was speechless. It was rare to see a cultivator with 4 types of palm realm power. Ling Jun was a quantifier in the 3 great true worlds. It could be used to determine the amount of palm realm power a cultivator possessed. If the power of a Dao law is cultivated to its limit, it would produce the power of a palm realm Dao law. If the power of a palm realm Dao law reaches 10 Ling Jun, it would be considered as having small success in the palm realm. If it reaches 100 Ling Jun, it would advance to the middle realm of the palm realm, and 500 Ling Jun would be considered as having grand success in the palm realm. Theoretically, A cultivator would be able to cultivate the Palm Void realm starting from the middle realm of the Palm realm. Only a great emperor who possessed the Palm Void realm could be considered as a great emperor of the Palm realm. In the past, Ning Fan could barely exert a small amount of Palm realm power by relying on the cultivation method of the chaotic loop art. The power of a single type of Palm realm power, contained within a single type of yin and yang, was probably less than half Ling Jun. A single absolute beginning lotus seed could increase the power of a Palm realm by 20 Ling Jun. 2 seeds would be 40 Ling Jun. When they were distributed among the 4 types of Palm realm power, the power of each type of Palm realm would increase by 10 Ling Jun. Unfortunately, the ancient God Heart Aperture could only increase the power of a spiritual item that could increase one's cultivation base. It had no effect on the absolute beginning lotus seed. Otherwise, Ning Fan could have gained even more power. Ning Fan had already heard about the classification of the small success, middle realm and grand success realm from Gu Jiang. Even though he did not have much of an understanding of the quantifier Ling Jun, he could roughly estimate that his 4 types of Palm realm power had already reached the small success realm. Ning Fan turned his hand and summoned the memory-severing Dao sword. The 4 types of Palm realm Dao laws coiled around the Dao sword. He stared at the Dao sword carefully and nodded to himself. By coiling 4 types of ordinary Dao laws, the power of the Dao sword would increase by more than a few times. Now, the Dao laws coiling around the Dao sword were even purer, and contained a total of 40 Ling Jun of Palm realm power. The power of this sword was at least 2 times stronger than before. The increase in the power of the Palm realm did not increase Ning Fan's cultivation base. Instead, it significantly increased his combat power. Should I take the second step? Ning Fan only hesitated for a moment before he made up his mind. He took the second step on the first bridge of origin. More blood mist burst out from his body. The first bridge of origin itself had a force that prevented the cultivators from moving forward. It was like a test. If they could not withstand this force, they would be injured and find it hard to move forward. At this moment, this force overlapped with the power of the Dao Soul blood shackles on Ning Fan's body. It actually severely injured Ning Fan's primordial spirit in an instant, causing nearly 1/3 of his primordial spirit to fall into an illusion. Severe injuries. It was definitely severe injuries. To cultivators, injuries on the primordial spirit were far more difficult to heal than injuries on the physical body. This was the result of Ning Fan's primordial spirit being protected by the God Exterminating Shield. If Ning Fan did not have the God Exterminating Shield, Musang would also suffer a severe injury to his primordial spirit. Another 500 Ling Jun was deducted. This brat from the Yin world actually dares to take the second step. Does he not want to live anymore? Isn't he afraid of being killed by the Dao Soul shackles? Bridge God Gu Jiang felt distressed. If Ning Fan took another step on the bridge, he would have to deduct another 500 Ling Jun's merit points. How could he not feel distressed? You have the Dao Soul Bloodlock. Even if you have supreme-grade Khanate Dharma treasures to protect you, you will not be able to completely offset the damage from the Bloodlock. With every step you take, you will be injured. If your injuries are serious enough, your Dao Foundation will be damaged. If it's serious enough, you will lose your life. Sai, turn back. Don't walk forward anymore. Although the reward from the Origin Bridge is important, you have to be alive to get it. Listen to my advice and turn back. If you don't turn back and walk forward, you will lose my merit points. Thank you for your concern, Senior. I know what I'm doing. Ning Fan wiped off the trace of blood at the corner of his lips and kept the reward of the Origin Bridge after taking the second step. When he thought about how he wanted to kill Gu Jiang just now, he felt a little guilty. This bridge god Gu Jiang actually cared about me regardless of what happened in the past. He's really a broad-minded person. I'm not concerned about you. I'm concerned about my own merit points. Gu Jiang, who was inexplicably labeled as a good person, felt gloomy. It was because after Ning Fan refined the reward of the second step, he took the third step. Another 500 Ling Jun was deducted. For the second step, Ning Fan still obtained a white lotus and 2 lotus seeds as a reward. It was the same for the third step. After taking the third step, The illusory degree of Ning Fan's primordial spirit had already reached 2/3 of its original state. If he takes the fourth step, his primordial spirit would probably collapse and he would die. The third step was already his current limit. Even with the God Exterminating Shield, he could not go any further. After consuming another 2 extreme yang white lotuses, Ning Fan still could not open his eyes. On the other hand, after consuming 4 lotus seeds in a row, his 4 types of Palm Realm power all broke through to the level of 30 Ling Jun. When the 4 types of Palm Realm power superimposed, it had already exceeded 120 Ling Jun. It was slightly stronger than some Palm Realm immortal emperors who are at the middle stage of the Palm Realm. Unfortunately, a single type of Palm Realm power could not reach the middle stage of the Palm Realm. Otherwise, it was highly possible for Ning Fan to attain the initial stage of the Palm Realm. Little friend from the Yin world, you won't take the 4th step, right? Gu Jiang wanted to cry but had no tears. He was really afraid that Ning Fan would continue to take the 4th step. I won't go any further. The 3rd step is already my limit. Seeing that Gu Jiang was concerned about him again, Ning Fan's tone became much friendlier. I'm really not concerned about you. Forget it. I won't explain any further. Anyway, the 1-hour time limit is almost up. I can withdraw my projection back to the illusory world. This time, the projection to the illusory world was really a painful experience. Gu Jiang did not want to descend to this illusory world for the rest of his life. The 12 origin bridges gradually became illusory. Soon, they disappeared from the profound Yin world along with the heavenly sound of the bugle. The scenery in front of Ning Fan returned to the profound Yin world. The first thing he did was to use a Millennium Tower to heal his injuries. The injuries caused by the Dao Soul blood shackles were really terrifying. There was actually a terrifying will of the heavens that kept tearing Ning Fan's primordial spirit, causing his cultivation base to temporarily decline due to his injuries that had yet to fully heal. Without 1,000 years, Ning Fan did not have the confidence to heal his injuries at all. Thus he had no choice but to go into seclusion immediately. When he walked out of the Millennium Tower, his injuries had already fully healed. His cultivation base had also returned to normal. It was already very rare for him to be able to draw the origin bridge down and take 3 steps on it without opening his eyes. Perhaps he would not have such an opportunity again. If he wants to draw the origin bridge down again, he would have to break free from the shackles and open his eyes. Open my eyes. I wonder how much more extreme yang I need. Ning Fan shook his head. Extreme yang was something that only existed in the true world. In the illusory world, there were very few things that contained extreme yang. The carp eye in the golden sky and black map did contain a lot of extreme yang. Unfortunately, after the previous experience of entering the map, it was highly likely that he would be targeted by the ferocious creatures in the depths of the painting world the moment he enters the map again. Even if he brings the black cat Jiuli with him, he might not be able to escape unscathed. Besides, he no longer had a second talisman brush from the Golden Talisman Palace. If he wants to enter the Golden Sky and Black Map again, he could only do so with his primordial spirit. He could not bring the black cat along, forget it. I'll put aside the matter of extreme yang and the matter of opening my eyes for now. It's time to leave the wooden island. There were some things that Ning Fan had yet to figure out. However, he could only figure them out in the future. He left the profound Yin world in a flash. As soon as he returned to the outside world, his eyes immediately narrowed. At this moment, there were many people gathered outside his room. There were Daoist Musong, Xiang Bozi, Old Wu Ba and the other disciples of the Wooden Island. Besides them, there was also Lu Feng and a red-robed venerated immortal lord with an unfriendly expression. Oh, why are all of you gathered outside my room? Is Big Brother here as well? Ning Fan walked out of the guest room of the monastery and smiled at Lu Feng. His eyes were filled with inquiry. Lu Feng nodded his head. Seeing this, Ning Fan's heart shuddered. He finally understood. It seems like this red-robed venerated immortal lord is a member of the Southern clan. Previously, when Ning Fan went to the Godly Void Pavilion, he had a deep conversation with Lu Feng. At that time, Lu Feng told Ning Fan a piece of bad news. The southern clan found out that someone was impersonating a member of their clan. It was not Lu Feng who told them about it. Instead, it was a deduction made by a powerful old ancestor of the clan. This incident happened about 10 years after Ning Fan entered the ancient wild region. In the past, Ning Fan had stolen the Gu command token of the southern clan. This incident was connected to heaven and earth, and was connected to karma. It could hide it from most people in the world, but it could not hide it from those old monsters who were proficient in deduction. Coincidentally, that old monster managed to deduce this incident. After knowing that someone actually dared to impersonate a member of the southern clan, that old ancestor of the southern clan was naturally enraged. Following the karma, he found Lu Feng and used a secret technique to search his memories. Only then did he understand the whole story of how Ning Fan impersonated a cultivator of the southern clan. What a great reign, immortal monarch! How dare you impersonate a member of the southern clan? Don't you know that this is a great taboo of our southern clan? Fortunately, at that time, the fact that Ning Fan was the successor of ancient chaos had almost spread across the entire eastern heaven. That old ancestor of the southern clan was wary of Ning Fan's reputation as the successor of ancient chaos. Thus, he did not dare to openly deal with Ning Fan. Moreover, Ning Fan had not shown up in the eastern heaven for a long time. Thus, he temporarily put this matter aside. Unexpectedly, after another 10 years, a huge incident happened in the ancient wild region. As one of the 10 great secret clans, the southern clan naturally had the means to find out the inside story. 2 great cultivators from the ancient times actually appeared in the ancient wild region, and they engaged in a life and death battle. One of them was called Zhao Jian. He was a mysterious cultivator with silver hair and a ghost face. As soon as they heard this news, the entire southern clan could not remain calm. Zhao Jian was the name of the member of the southern clan that Ning Fan impersonated. According to the first-hand information obtained by the old ancestors of the southern clan, the great cultivator from the ancient times in the ancient wild region, Zhao Jian, was exactly the same as Ning Fan. Impossible. This young man is obviously the successor of ancient chaos. He's just an unknown life immortal realm junior. How could he be the great cultivator from the ancient times whose name shook the entire ancient wild region? Many of the old ancestors of the southern clan could not believe this, but they could not verify it. After that, another 2 years passed and Ning Fan returned to the eastern heaven with unparalleled strength. 100 years ago, Ning Fan was just a life immortal realm expert. 100 years later, however, he actually possessed the cultivation base of an immortal venerable realm expert. The old monsters of the southern clan did not believe that Ning Fan could cultivate from the life immortal realm to the immortal venerable realm in just 100 years. Did he really think that immortal venerables of the immortal venerables of the past were as common as cabbages? If one could achieve that level in just 100 years, why would there be so many memory-breaking old monsters who had spent millions or tens of millions of years to reach this level? Obviously, Ning Fan's cultivation base did not increase. Instead, he had always had this cultivation base. His previous cultivation base at the life immortal realm was just an illusion. No, it was highly possible that even his immortal venerable realm cultivation base was just an illusion. The cultivation base of an ancient great cultivator was Ning Fan's true cultivation base. Therefore, most of the old monsters of the southern clan chose to believe that Ning Fan was a great cultivator from the ancient times who was hiding his cultivation base. The things he did in the eastern heaven, and the reputation that he gained from the rumors were probably all fake. Even his name might be fake. However, there were still a small number of old monsters of the southern clan who felt that Ning Fan was not the same person as the great cultivator from the ancient wild region, Zhao Jian. Even so, those old monsters of the southern clan did not dare to do anything harmful to Ning Fan. What if? If Ning Fan was really a great cultivator from the ancient times, even the southern clan would not be able to withstand his wrath. Even if Ning Fan was not a great cultivator from the ancient times, he was still the successor of ancient chaos. His master was still alive. Who would dare to suppress him with force? Even the dark race who held hostility against Ning Fan would not dare to do so. None of the old monsters of the southern clan dared to touch Ning Fan. However, They also could not just brush off the fact that Ning Fan was pretending to be a member of the Southern clan. After all, they were a dignified secret race. Even if the other party was a great cultivator from the ancient times, the old monsters of the Southern clan still had to seek justice for him. Of course, if the other party was really a great cultivator from the ancient times, the so-called justice would just be a formality. All they needed to do was to slightly maintain the reputation of the Southern clan, and let others know that no one could pretend to be a member of the Southern clan. That way, they would not really become enemies with Ning Fan. As soon as Ning Fan went to the divine tomb, LV Feng told him the whole story. One had to admit that LV Feng, this sworn brother of his, was really worth befriending. Even when facing the questions of the old ancestors of the Southern clan, LV Feng did not say anything that was unfavorable to Ning Fan. Unfortunately, his memories were searched by someone. Otherwise, he would not have exposed so many things. LV Feng was very worried about Ning Fan's situation. His network was not as good as the Southern clan. Thus, he did not know the details of the great battle in the wilderness. He did not know that Ning Fan's ghost-like silver hair matched the great cultivator from the wilderness. From the conversation between the old monsters of the Southern clan, LV Feng heard words like, "Could this young man really be a great cultivator from the ancient times?" Or, "Does this young man really have the cultivation base of a great cultivator from the ancient times?" Apparently, the old monsters of the Southern clan suspected that his sworn brother was a great cultivator from the ancient times. Besides, they also reckoned that great Emperor Ancient Chaos was on the verge of Tao extinction. Thus, they did not dare to use force against him. This is troublesome. Isn't this really troublesome? How could his sworn brother, Ning Fan, possibly be a great cultivator from the ancient times? If the Southern clan finds out the truth and Ancient Chaos dies, no one would be able to protect Ning Fan anymore. LV Feng, who was born in the Southern clan, naturally knew how terrifying the Southern clan was. That enormous foundation was enough to make any immortal king or immortal emperor tremble in fear, let alone Ning Fan, who was not even an immortal king yet. Honestly, when LV Feng first found out that Ning Fan was not a member of the Southern clan, he felt a little cheated. In the beginning, when he befriended Ning Fan, he indeed had the thought of utilitarianism. However, after that, Ning Fan gave him some pointers which allowed his cultivation base to recover rapidly. In the past, when his cultivation base was crippled by Sun Luo, he had already recovered half of it in just 100 years. Today, Lu Feng had sincerely regarded Ning Fan as his brother. He was not a good person, but he was a very simple person. If others were to treat him well, he would treat them well. If others were to treat him badly, he would kill their entire family and their entire clan. Since Ning Fan treated him well, he naturally regarded Ning Fan as his sworn brother. When he found out that Ning Fan was standing on the opposite side of the Southern clan, he gritted his teeth and stood on Ning Fan's side. "Brother Ning, do you really have a way to deal with the Southern clan?" LV Feng pondered for a moment and asked through telepathy. "Don't worry, big brother. It's not difficult." Ning Fan replied with telepathy as well. Ning Fan still had a way to make the Southern clan think that he was a great cultivator from the ancient times. As long as he used the God Exterminating Shield, which was a heaven-opening divine tool, and made some arrangements, he should be able to make some of the old monsters of the Southern clan believe that he was a great cultivator from the ancient times. That was Ning Fan's initial thought. Now that he saw the people of the Southern clan, his belief became even stronger. The eyes of the red-robed immortal venerated lord were filled with hostility. If it wasn't for the fact that he was a great cultivator from the ancient times being exposed, there would certainly be many people in the Southern clan who would harbor such hostility towards him. Impersonating a member of the Southern clan was a taboo of the Southern clan. There were no lack of stubborn old men in the Southern clan. It was totally possible for them to kill Ning Fan just because of this taboo. He had already become enemies with the Dark Clan. If there is another Southern clan, Ning Fan was not afraid of trouble. However, if he could avoid some trouble, who would be willing to be involved in it? Little friend Ning Yu, Mu Song and Xiang Bozi had something to ask Ning Fan. Naturally, they were asking about the heavenly sound of the bugle. Unfortunately, before the two quasi-saints could finish their words, The red-robed immortal venerated lord of the southern clan could not wait any longer. He said to Ning Fan with an arrogant expression. You are Ning Fan? Humph. I am the second young emperor of the barbarian tribe of the southern clan. You follow me back to the southern clan. Don't resist. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Is this kid retarded? Everyone, including Old Wu, stared at the red-robed young man, as if they were looking at an idiot. Even if you are an immortal venerated lord of the southern clan, you can't just snatch the conversation between two quasi-saints, right? Let alone Musang, just Xiang Bozi alone. Any first-level quasi-saint of the secret race would have to address him politely as fellow Taoist. You, on the other hand, are just an immortal venerated lord of the southern clan. How dare you snatch the conversation between two quasi-saints? Do you really think that the southern clan can cover the sky with one hand in the eastern heaven? The people of the Wooden Island were not afraid of the southern clan. They knew about their master's formidable battle records. He had once fought against 3 quasi-saints of the Dark Clan alone. How domineering was that? Old Wu was also not afraid of the southern clan. The southern clan. Just by squatting in front of their door, they would have to spend money to invite him away. Ning Fan was also speechless. Didn't the southern clan suspect that he was a great cultivator from the ancient times? Which old monster whose cultivation base had reached the 10,000 ancient realm wasn't cautious? If Ning Fan had a trace of possibility of being a great cultivator from the ancient times, there wouldn't be any inconspicuous people who would come to find trouble with him, right? Even if he really wants to invite Ning Fan to the South Clan, he should be extremely polite. Isn't he afraid that something might happen when he opens his mouth in such a rude manner? Could this red-robed celestial supremacy be a cultivator from one of those clans? You haven't had much experience in the world, and you haven't experienced the deceit of the cultivation world. You've been taking pills to cultivate since you were born. Is that why you're so mentally deficient? Humph, this old man hasn't spoken yet. Is it your turn to speak? Musang's expression turned cold. He was originally an eccentric person. It was already rare for him to show Ning Fan a good face. How could he show a good face to any random cat or dog? You forget it, Senior is right. The red-robed immortal gritted his teeth and admitted defeat to Musang, but his tone was very reluctant. As expected, he was an idiot. Even if he was from the southern tribe, he shouldn't have been so rude to Musang. Since he was an idiot, then he would torture him properly. If Ning Fan wants the southern clan to believe that he is a great cultivator from the ancient times, he must do something to slightly awe the southern clan. He would use this red-robed venerated immortal lord to put on a show. As an ancient great cultivator, what should he do? After being threatened by this red-robed venerated immortal lord, if he doesn't teach this venerated immortal lord a lesson, he wouldn't be befitting of his identity as an ancient great cultivator. Just as Ning Fan was about to summon the god-destroying giant and crush this unlucky kid to intimidate the southern clan, he suddenly hesitated. This hesitation was not because he was soft-hearted. Instead, it was because he sensed a trace of chi from the red-robed venerated immortal lord's body, the chi of a barbarian cultivator. This red-robed venerated immortal lord is actually a barbarian cultivator. Why are there barbarian cultivators in the 4 heavens? I heard that the southern clan has 4 tribes which are witchcraft, gu, barbarian, and war. This red-robed venerated immortal lord originated from one of the barbarian tribes of the southern clan. Could it be that the barbarian tribes of the southern clan all cultivate the barbarian path? It's also possible that the entire southern clan cultivates the barbarian path. It's also possible that there are only a few barbarian cultivators in the southern clan, and this red-robed venerated immortal lord is probably the only barbarian cultivator in the southern clan. Not all of them cultivate the barbarian path. Lu Feng was once a member of the southern clan, but he did not have the cultivation base of the barbarian race in his body. In just an instant, Ning Fan went through various guesses in his mind, but he could not verify them. However, if this red-robed immortal venerate was a barbaric cultivator, there was no need for him to summon the god-exterminating shield. Ning Fan would be able to intimidate him even more. Berserker, if I'm a berserker, then how should I face the god of berserkers? If I don't go back to the southern clan with you, you are going to be merciless to me, aren't you? Ning Fan turned to the red-robed immortal venerate and asked with an expressionless face. That's right. If you obediently follow me back to the southern clan, then I'll be polite to you. But if you dare to disobey my orders, then I'll let you know that the successor of ancient chaos isn't even worth a fart in my eyes. The red-robed celestial exalt spoke proudly. Then let's see how merciless you are to my subordinates. Scram. Ning Fan suddenly shouted coldly at the red-robed youth. It was a simple word, but it seemed to carry the might of the heavens. At this moment, Ning Fan's will had replaced the heavens and the great Tao of the heavens, becoming the master of all barbarian cultivators in this world. Get lost. Scram. Scram. Without using any cultivation or magic power, a ray of golden light shot into the sky like a gust of wind toward the red-robed celestial sovereign. When it got close, it turned into a golden palm that was as tall as a person and slammed down on the red-robed celestial sovereign. The supreme might contained in the golden light shook everyone's heart. That destructive force instantly destroyed all of the defensive magical treasures and spiritual equipment of the red-robed immortal venerate, including an innate treasure armor. No wonder this man was so arrogant. He even had an innate treasure armor. It was obvious that he was a highly valued existence in the southern clan. However, even the innate treasure armor could not protect the red-robed immortal venerate. In an instant, it was shattered by the golden palm. Then even his physical body was crushed into a mist of blood. His primordial spirit was extremely shocked. He looked at the golden palm that hit his body with a pale face. The feeling of approaching death was unprecedentedly close. I'll die. I'll die. I'll die. What kind of divine ability is this? This Rain Lord clearly didn't use any magic power. How did he unleash such a terrifying golden palm? I can't resist it. I can't resist it. I've only experienced this feeling in the forbidden area of the clan. Only the South Pole ancestor, who was healing in seclusion, had this kind of cultivation. This is definitely the cultivation of an ancient great cultivator. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Why did I have to be rude to an ancient great cultivator? Why didn't I believe he was an ancient great cultivator? This Rain Lord is definitely an ancient great cultivator, who is hiding his cultivation. I can't withstand this golden palm. Not even the first or second rank quasi-sages in the clan can. Only the ancestor, only the ancestor. At the moment of death, the jade pendant on the red-robed immortal venerate's primordial spirit's neck suddenly broke in half. Then an old figure shot out from the jade pendant. He swung the giant bone club in his hand and collided with the golden palm. Fellow cultivator, please calm down. This is definitely a misunderstanding. The Southern clan has no intention of becoming enemies with fellow cultivator. The old man who suddenly dashed out was surrounded by the powerful aura force of a first-level quasi-sage. However, it was not his true body but a clone. However, even with the cultivation of his quasi-saint clone, he couldn't stop the golden palm from descending. His bone club was crushed by the golden palm, and his figure was directly crushed by the golden palm, turning into specks of light that dissipated, destroying an innate magic treasure, and the physical body of an immortal venerate with a single palm strike was not shocking. However, destroying the clone of a quasi-sage with a single palm strike was absolutely shocking. It's Mandaeuson's clone. He was actually destroyed by this young man with a single palm strike. Musang and Xiangbozi were shocked. The others might not be able to recognize the clone of a quasi-sage that was instantly destroyed, but how could they not recognize it? Mandaosan was a quasi-sage of the barbarian tribe of the Southern clan. His true body's cultivation base was almost at the peak of the first-level quasi-sage realm. Even his clone that had been cultivating for many years could be comparable to an ordinary first-level quasi-sage. Was what happened just now real? Ning Fan killed Mandaeuson's quasi-sage clone with a single palm strike. Even my old ancestor's clone has been destroyed. I will die. I will die. The red-robed immortal venerate was already in despair. He was dumbfounded by Ning Fan's strength. However, the expected death did not come. When the golden palm struck his primordial spirit, It suddenly turned into a gust of violent wind and blew him hundreds of star regions away from the wooden island. The crowd of cultivators was shocked. I won't kill you, but there won't be a next time. Your identity as the young emperor of the barbarian tribe is not enough. Next time, it will be the quasi-sage of your barbarian tribe who speaks to me. Ning Fan was obviously saying those words on the wooden island. However, with the help of the rain technique, his words were transmitted to the red-robed immortal venerate's ears. Senior, thank you for sparing my life. When I return to the clan this time, I will deliver Senior's decree to the old ancestor of my barbarian tribe. The red-robed immortal venerate was terrified. His primordial spirit cupped his fists towards the direction of the wooden island and ran away with his tail between his legs. It's over. I wonder if my actions have angered this ancient great cultivator. Let's see how the elders of the clan will deal with this matter. Pudut in the South Pole Palace of the Southern Clan. 5 quasi-sages of the Southern Clan were sitting in a row with their eyes closed, waiting for something. Suddenly, one of the quasi-sages coughed out blood for no reason. Then he received the memories of his clone and his face was filled with shock. The person who coughed out blood was Mandaeuson's true body. What happened? The other quasi-sages were shocked when they saw Mandaeuson coughing out blood. In the entire Southern Clan, other than the old ancestor of the Southern Clan who was still recuperating, the second elder was the second elder of the second-level quasi-sage realm. Mandaeuson was the third strongest expert of the Southern Clan. Why did he suddenly cough out blood? It's the Rain Lord. This man is unfathomable. He destroyed my clone with a single palm strike. We must not provoke him. We must not provoke him. As soon as Mandaeuson said those words, all the other quasi-sages were shocked. Destroying Mandaeuson's clone with a single palm strike. How terrifying is his cultivation base. An ancient great cultivator. The Rain Lord Ning Fan is actually that great cultivator from the barbarian tribe. Forget about my clone. I can still get it back after paying some price. However, Mandaeuson smiled bitterly. If the Southern Clan becomes enemies with this man because of today's test, it would incur the wrath of an ancient great cultivator. That would be really difficult to resolve. Even if the great elder was at his peak, he would not allow the Southern Clan to offend an ancient great cultivator, let alone the fact that the great elder was severely injured. Then if he really gets angry, does our Southern Clan have to lower our heads to him? Are you kidding me? The ancestors of our Southern Clan have always been the guards of the Southern Heavenly Gate of the immortal sovereign realm. There are only cultivators who die in battle, and none of us would lower our heads to him. If this Ning Fan doesn't provoke us, we are willing to settle this dispute peacefully. We can even compromise a little. However, if this man goes too far, we will make him pay even if our entire clan has to die in battle. The cultivators of our Southern Clan will never shy away from a battle or death. Of course, it would be better if they could avoid provoking Ning Fan. No one would be willing to make a terrifying enemy for no reason. Killing a quasi-sage realm expert with a single palm strike. The few old monsters of the Southern Clan shuddered in fear. When the red-robed venerated immortal ran back to the Southern Clan and passed on Ning Fan's message, they began to shift the blame to each other again. Ning Fan said that he would at least send a quasi-saint realm expert from the barbarian tribe over to him next time. Only then would they be qualified to talk to him. That's right. Sending an ancient immortal venerate to look for Ning Fan is a little inappropriate. Then the question is, who is going to talk to Ning Fan? Fourth Elder Nantian Hua nonchalantly picked up his teacup and drank for an hour. He didn't finish the cup of tea, as if he was competing with his teacup. He was a sage to be of the Gu tribe, and did not have the cultivation of the barbarian tribe. The fifth elder, Zhao Wonggong, was constantly pinching his fingers and deducing something. He looked like he was deducing good or bad luck. It was as if this matter had nothing to do with him, and he just wanted to stay out of it. Sixth Elder Ta Shi and Third Elder Mandaeuson exchanged glances with each other. Neither of them took the initiative to ask for Ning Fan's help. What a joke! What if the negotiation with Ning Fan fails? Should I be killed by Ning Fan with a single palm strike? This was risky, and whoever was stronger would be the one to take it. In the end it was the second elder, old ancestor Wuxian who spoke. Fellow Taoist Ning said to let the sage-to-be of the barbarian tribe talk to him. So, old third and old sixth, choose one of you to go and talk to him. Cough cough. Old sixth, my clone has just been destroyed and my injuries have yet to heal. So, when Man Daosan thought of Ning Fan's terrifying strength, he felt a lingering fear in his heart, and looked at Tasher pleadingly. When Tasher saw his third elder brother who had never begged anyone in his life was looking at him with such a gaze, he let out a long sigh and said, "Fine. I'm a sage-to-be of the barbarian tribe. I'll go and talk to him. At most I'll just die. There are no cowards in my southern clan." Just as Tasher was about to say something righteously, the cold voice of a lady came from outside the hall. "Sixth Grandpa, why don't you let Wei Yu go on your behalf?" A lady in a feather cloak holding an umbrella walked gracefully into the South Pole Hall. This lady was the #1 saintess of the Southern clan. Her name was Tantai Wei Yu. It was the same name as a lady whom Ning Fan had met before. However, this lady was different from Tantai Wei Yu whom Ning Fan had met before in terms of appearance, cultivation level and bone age. Besides, that Tantai Wei Yu was from the Purple Mansion Academy of the Southern Heaven clan, while this Tantai Wei Yu was the dignified saintess of the Southern clan. They seemed to be two completely different existences. You? No way. How can we let a little girl like you bear the brunt of the calamity of our Southern clan? Enough said. Third Grandpa will go, but you are not allowed to go. Man Daosan was no longer afraid. He decided to meet Ning Fan. In short, he could not let the little girl Wei Yu die. That Ning Fan was a ferocious man. He dared to destroy someone's physical body and clone just because of a disagreement. He was definitely not a kind person. I'll go. No. Let me go. Let me go. The situation where both sides were pushing each other away actually changed because of Wei Yu's suggestion. Tantai Wei Yu's heart felt warm, but she shook her head and said, "No. It's better to let Wei Yu go. You guys don't know this person, but I should have some understanding." As she said that, Wei Yu smiled faintly as if she was reminiscing about the past. "You've met Yu Jun before? When was that?" "Ever since you were born. You have never left the territory of the Southern clan, which is 100,000 li away. How is it possible for you to have met this person before?" "It's a secret." Tantai Wei Yu smiled slyly. Indeed, she had met him before. That Ning Fan had met her witchcraft gu before. The few grandpas of the quasi-saint realm did not know about this. The discussion of Tao in the past was still deeply engraved in her memory. What a cunning man. He actually pretended to be an ancient great cultivator, and scared the few grandpas of the quasi-saint realm. Rain immortal monarch, huh? Others might not know that you came from the Rain world, but I do. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.